There was an eclipse that took place 7 years ago, went right across America. There's another eclipse coming right across America. It'll make a perfect cross on the center of the nation.
God made the first sign go through 7 cities named Salem on August 21st, 2017.
The word Salem, according to the Bible, is peace. So God is saying 7 times he offered peace. The next eclipse is coming. It goes through several cities here. Nineveh, 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 Nineveh. Jonah gave Nineveh 40 days. God said you've got 40 days to repent. Only the sign of Jonah will be shown to you, and that's right here now. 7 and 7. 7 cities called Salem, 7 cities called Nineveh, and 7 years apart. Right in the center of the cross is a city called Rapture. What is God's message? We've got 40 days. We've got to repent and seek God like never before. He's coming very, very soon.
You hear that, you fuckers? You better repent.
Repent. By the way, you got the wrong stream link, but it's fine. We're live anyways, right?
But are we live on his channel?
We're on his channel, yes. But
it
is not his scheduled stream. But
I may have messed that up. It may have been my fault.
Is anyone watching on his channel right now?
Yes.
Should we do it over?
No.
Jimmy, should we do it over?
Well, I got people in my chat.
All right. Well, in that case, the boys are back. Apparently, it took a damn near apocalyptic warning for us to get back together. So lead that to whatever inference you would like. Happening Net News, your favorite schizo deep dive documentarian, Jimmy the Lip. He has another show he produces on his channel called Subreddit Surfing. And I'm me, the #1 draft pick for a co-host for a conspiracy show. So it's happening, isn't it? Or it might be happening. The news is on high alert. The National Guard is out for the giant warning of travel advisories. At least that's what they're saying. But what's really going on, Habb?
A little bit more than travel advisories.
Damn it.
There's a lot of shit going on. But how have we all been the last year since we saw each other?
Oh, it's this kind of an intro? I mean, we all.
Hey, I'm fine with acting like we didn't talk at all last night.
Kayfabe.
No, but at least as far as my channel's gone, I haven't had any activity really in a little bit. And if you follow my channel, it's because I've been really busy, and there was a little bit of a kerfuffle at my previous job regarding my channel here. So I had to kind of scurry about to fix some shit. But in the last year or so, we kind of been getting into some really interesting shit when we do talk about, like, on text or whatever. We do get together whenever Jimmy's streaming and just hang out when on the odd chance that all 3 of us are free at the same time. But
we're all being insomniacs.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think there's a big push of like, Habb, when's the doc coming out? When's the doc coming out? And it's like, hey, you guys, we have bills too. In case anyone forgot. Mm-hmm. And to answer when the doc's coming out, it's sometime after this show, probably after the Where Are They Now segment of the 3 of us, and before the reunion of the next time we do this.
That's a good guess. That's a good predictive guess.
I should have hit the rim shot, but I'm not sure if that was a joke or not.
Sorry, I'm typing in the chat, I'm trying to direct people in the right direction who are in Habb's scheduled stream right now. So sorry.
Thanks, Jimmy. I appreciate that.
It went over my head. Sorry, Michael.
We're So are we streaming at the right? We're streaming at the wrong place. We're streaming on the wrong stream on the right channel.
Wrong stream, right channel. I didn't even know that you could do that on when I had a scheduled stream up. I just thought it would automatically go.
It's why I always hated doing the scheduled streams whenever I was really on YouTube all the time, because I'd always fuck shit up like that.
Well, you know what? It's kind of funny because I read the last line of your description, Habb, and he said, well, we're astrologers now. And the thing is if you knew that, or anyone pays attention to astrology, it's Mercury retrograde, which usually you don't start anything new during Mercury retrograde. And
This is far from new, Michael. This project we're doing is far from new. I felt like it was a great time to return back, which is what retrogrades are supposed to be. You're returning, you're reflecting, and you're reflecting on what you've learned on the past cycle. I thought that would be a good idea, but it seems I've still got some lessons to learn on how to fucking run a stream properly.
hey, it's your first time, so it's not a valid excuse, but it is an excuse that we're going to run with.
That's fine with
I'm
me.
pretty sure he streamed before, hasn't he?
No,
I mean, I've streamed with Michael. I've never streamed from my own channel before.
Oh, okay.
yes.
All right.
I didn't want, for the longest time, I didn't want anybody, associating my face with what I did on my channel, and then I got fired for it. So, well, whatever.
Yeah, we already gone too far, right?
Manifested the fuck out of that.
Do we want to get into the story of that? Because it is a funny story, but we don't have to.
we can, but whatever.
Yeah, people have to ask and stuff. That's all.
Heb, I'm seeing some people in your chat right now.
Yes.
Oh.
Most Needly.
Most neatly. Who? Oh, probably someone
you
who
in the
doesn't
right-
even know why they subscribe to me.
Oh, I'm sure they know. It's probably some Aleister Crowley thing. They may be a sodomite themselves.
I get a lot of those. There was an uptick on the Aleister Crowley views recently. I got a sudden another 100,000 views out of nowhere and a bunch of comments telling me that, I don't want to read a video.
Well, in your defense, you get rid of the text faster than a lot of people want. So, I mean, they might be fans of that.
Well, I mean, in my defense, that video was 5 fucking years ago. So I've learned a lot since then. Fuck y'all. Learn to read. You're not going to get spoon-fed the fucking occult.
That's true.
That is the one funny thing that I think about all the people saying, "Where's part 2? Where's part 2?" And I'm like, well, for how long it's taken you to release part 2, they could have figured it all out by now. But
Probably. But I want to, as far as getting a narrative going and actually putting down everything that I think is the most interesting and the most important, and still to the narrative that I want, because there's a bunch of shit that, like, the specifics that I want to go into, and more of the specifics that I wouldn't have understood had I not spent basically the last year or so, along with paying bills and trying to do that on my own, with my own business and shit. I've been learning a lot about astrology. I've regressed back to the state of being like a 16-year-old girl, and finally have gotten into learning about astrology. And I find it very, very fascinating. And it seems there's a lot of people who find it really interesting. Not just with the eclipse stuff, it's getting more popular in the mainstream, like media and consciousness and shit. Like collective consciousness, just the eclipse stuff. But there's all kinds of videos of people talking about the significance of the eclipse, the occult significance of the eclipse. But a lot of them, it's one or the other. You either get people who are like these feel-good astrologers who are just kind of giving you your like newspaper horoscope, or you've got people who are just doom and gloom, black-pilled. This is purely political. This is purely, they may be mirroring some weird occult ritual from a few thousand years ago or something, but it's not anything that, if you don't look too deeply into it, because these people are just crazy pedophiles or something.
Yeah, I get it. To one degree, I hate the idea that there's a giant ball of gas in the sky that's basically the equivalent of a mythological fart, and I'm supposed to act a certain way because it's in a certain place in the sky. And there's a part of me that's just like, fuck that. But on the flip side, what's the old saying? If you want to be a millionaire, what is it? It, Habb. If you want to be a millionaire, look at the whatever, get a financial advisor. And if
that was JP Morgan, and that was one of the things that got me into that got me into doing astrology or reading into it in any regard was that JP Morgan thing 100 years ago or so. If you want to be a millionaire, get an accountant. If you want to be a billionaire, get an astrologer. And that's when you start to understand, oh, okay, what type of people does JP Morgan belong to? Who do these bankers belong to? Oh, okay, this is what they practice. Okay, I get it. What religion practices and follows a lunar new year or a lunar year rather than a solar year?
I have the button, but we're streaming on YouTube, so I don't think I'm supposed to press it.
Just go with. Do you have like a sound bit of like Woody Allen or something?
Like a coin drop or something? No,
That works.
We'll get a YouTube friendly soundboard for next one.
Who's doing that technical part?
Well, me, I guess.
Michael's always got the.
Should we trust you with that?
Well, I've been doing it so far, but let's be real, there probably won't be a next one. So, moving forward.
Hey, wait. Can I respond to a comment real quick?
Yeah, go.
Yeah.
Just because I'm looking on here, Sasha. I have seen your comments on my videos before, and I always appreciate what you said. I would love to look back on now, knowing what I know now about astrology, and looking back on what you've posted. Can you post some examples in the chat, and I'll respond to you in the comment while these two continue on.
Yeah, Habb, by the way, and just
You text your crush. Well, we'll just cover the show. Yeah.
anytime you want to talk to your people, dude, have at it. This is your show.
But it's our show.
Yeah,
It's
but I'm
our
leeching off
show.
you pretty much.
I got to carry everything around here.
You're streaming off of your channel, aren't you, Jimmy?
I am.
Okay. Michael, you're not streaming on anything, are you?
No, he's a loser.
This is me being altruistic, like a boomer.
You are a boomer. You're younger than both of us, Michael, but you are a boomer.
I put the baby in baby boomer. Okay. So,
All right. Yeah, so we're
TC, what do you know about? Are you holding out on us on astrology too?
I think all women know astrology, by the way.
they all go through the phase. It's like they go through a stealing phase and then they go through the astrology phase.
All women go through stealing phases?
I didn't know about that either. I just heard about that like a couple weeks ago. So I guess Habb knows more about it than I do.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Maria is asking in my chat, so are we all going to die tomorrow?
No, but we'll get to that.
All right. What level of, before we get into the deep dive, which we probably should do that first and then get into this question, but we have some dead air. So we're asking the question now in the sake of filling up for that and me rattling on so it doesn't seem like we're doing this on purpose. How much validity do you guys put into the astrology woo-woo? And that is part A of the question, and part B being the specific event. Basically asking, do you think something's going to happen?
Jimmy, go ahead.
Okay, well, first off, I occasionally read my horoscope. So hopefully that answers the first part. I don't know. I think every solar eclipse, there's always some woo-woo going on. What they're doing the woo-woo for and what outcome they're looking for obviously is unknown. When Trump was president, when he was pointing at the solar eclipse with no glasses on, I'm sure there's some fun stuff going on that happened. What? I don't know. Speaking of, the solar eclipse and the feeling of end times, we had some weird earthquakes that started happening kind of recently. For instance.
Listen, man, I like that we're trying to be like, 2020 was a crazy election year and now it's 2024, so maybe the conspiracy scene can come back. But we really kind of downplay how odd 2020 was compared to every other year in history. But also, I don't know. I'm just kind of burned out by the conspiracy crowd being like, something's going to happen, and this is the thing, and this is the event of this day, and get ready for the invasion, or get
Yeah,
ready
I mean-
for the crisis, and it's like
That's always the thing.
I'm just like, no, grandma, you keep listening to your memes, and Habb and I will keep talking about what's really going on, and now he's doing astrology, but also, it's just. I almost purposely try to be jaded about it because I also see the news and I see now there's a bird flu thing coming along and it's infecting cattle and they're burning all the places where they're making all the meat and meat production's at an all-time low, and now it can reach humans. And last time that happened there were lockdowns, and it doesn't make me feel really good. So it's a lot to block out of my head. And now we have this saying this could be a giant spark for all of that.
Habb, what's your answer to Michael's original question that he asked?
Well, I mean, if as far as giving validity, me personally, I in the last year, I've gotten opened up to so much of it in a really short amount of time because I can't really think of any other way to say it other than very serendipitously. I met a lot of people who were very, very interested in these subjects when I felt like I had come to kind of like a stagnation in learning more about occultism and their magical practices and shit, and I didn't really know where to go. But I was reading this one book that I found about 2 or 3 years ago, but I didn't pick up until I started reading about a year ago. It's called Under the Sign of the Scorpion. I'm not going to attempt to pronounce the Russian guy's name who wrote it, but it's a really, really great book that for me, who is someone who went into occultism and like learning about all that black magic shit.
That's a better way to say it.
What? Which part?
Got into occultism versus learned all the black magic shit. Well, I guess I'm trying to help you with the clarification for the
You can
that you just set yourself up for.
I guess so. But with learning about Aleister
I
Crowley
also do the PR team for the group too. Apparently.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Very well, though, might I add. Thank you, Michael. But I met a lot of people around the time I was reading this book that, for me, as somebody who came from learning about occultism through politics or through media or through entertainment and entertainers and shit, Led Zeppelin bands and music and movies and all that shit, where it was just kind of seen as like cool. Going from the political thing of understanding that, okay, it's not just, hippies and weirdos and new age people who think this, who believe this stuff. It's bankers and politicians. And then it's these religious people who believe this shit too, high up religious authority. Then you look a little further and you try to figure out what exactly it is that they're practicing. I had hit kind of a roadblock with that. And that was what the next part of my documentary was initially intended to be about. And I just kind of hit a wall of figuring out what the fuck it was they were doing until I realized through researching a certain 2 or 3 instances, murder cases that I am covering for the documentary were very astrologically correlated. There was a whole lot of astrological correlation that I never noticed in those murders before, in those ritual murders before. So getting into that, it led me into, well, okay, I guess I have to look into astrology. Okay, I guess I have to look into this a little bit. And then once I did, I kind of veered off into the teenage girl sort of pathway where I was like, oh shit, I'm learning a lot about myself and why I do the things I do, and I can see how people fall into that inner shaman work kind of thing or inner trauma healing kind of thing, and they go off on these shamanistic journeys and shit, and they can fucking lose their mind and something. I really kind of understood that a little bit. And understanding astrology has helped me understand that more. And then it helps me look into the broad view of how these things are working, whether or not it's the compelling of the planets making them do these things, making people at large do these things on a macro and microcosm, or if they're doing it to mimic the planetary movement. Either way, they're doing it, it's happening, and they're kind of being rewarded for it. So yes, I believe this shit is real. Yes, I do believe there's validity to it.
I understand everything you said completely. Jimmy, you catch any of that?
I did.
All right.
I'm with him. I mean, I'm like 75. Actually, put me to 80%. I 80% believe it.
How much of that had to do with us not meeting yesterday and doing a natal reading chart?
Well, I mean, like I said, I read my horoscopes occasionally, and boy, every time I do, I'm like, sounds like me. But I maybe if I read another sign, I'd still be like, hey, that sounds like me too. I don't know. But what the hell do you knew my sign and you started telling me things that I can't remember. You read my Capricorn thing, and you pretty much nailed it on the head for
those
like how I
for
try
those
to deal with things.
For those who are immediately confused about the debasement of basing of Jimmy, he's been doing a show based on Reddit for the past few months. You can go ahead.
Go ahead. I was interested in your Reddit story.
I wasn't. You know, I don't know why you keep bringing up subreddit surfing. We should be bringing up After Dark.
Yeah, go follow his channel too.
Well, hey, Garrett, I just wanted to say for one, TC, happy birthday. I would love to do your chart.
TC's birthday?
Yeah, actually, towards the second half of this show, or once we finish the other topics, stay tuned because we're going to do a natal reading chart of Jimmy. And if there's any other way, we could grab other people's info. If they wanted to donate it, to send it to Habb, we can figure out a way to do that too, either tonight or another time.
And TC, to answer your other question, or other statement, well, no, you asked. Yes, you can, but I believe to what you said, don't you think you could take any system of religion, numerology, planets, directions, and make it fit a "this is why I do stuff" narrative? Yes, but that's me manically trying to explain why I have any adherence to any of this shit. And of course, it's going to sound almost fanatical, evangelical kind of, oh my God, I've discovered something sort of. It's really hard to not sound that way. And it's really hard to not just make it sound like, well, this is just a system of philosophy, just as anybody else could pick up. I really do believe this is where all of that came from. The difference here is that this is the originator and everything else is an imitation in some way or some form, or they're worshiping some specific aspect of astrology, like how Christians are worshiping the sun, the Muslims are worshiping the moon, and Judaism also, or excuse me, they're worshiping specific planetary conjunctions. Usually it all relates to the tree of life. It all relates to how everything has a correlation. Everything has every mental disorder, every religion, every political party, every team, every sports team, every video game, every story you've ever read follows along with astrological parables. These are all the Gnostic themes. Once you start reading more and more about the Gnostic themes that are present in Masonry, you realize, oh, that's what they're talking about. They're talking about the stars. They're talking about the themes of the Greek pantheon, which are anthropomorphized and characterized as these deities and as these gods. They're the aspects that make up the universe, you know. So everything just kind of comes from astrology. For me personally, learning that has been really, really kind of eye-opening to how all of this stuff works. I'm not going to continue on a ramble because I've got plenty of other shit I want to talk about. But Jimmy, Michael, go ahead.
I didn't know that each planet was pretty much worshipped by different religions and whatnot. So who's the group that hovers around Saturn then?
So they're worshiping
Just out of
different.
curiosity. Sorry, I had to ask. Go on.
No. They're worshiping out of different aspects. They're worshiping different conjunctions. They're worshiping different. So like in the what is it? The Islamic flag, the one with the green, and it's got the crescent and the little star on it. That flag is basically it's a worship of a specific conjunction of the moon and Venus. I believe it's the moon and Venus and Taurus. So it's planets aligned in a specific way, aligned in a specific sign, sometimes in a specific house, but in a specific sign. That's the worship that they're that's the basis of the religion, or the aspects of these things coming together. If you've heard of Islam being a more feminine worship religion, in like Bill Cooper talks about that. I think Robert Zephyr talks about that too, because their central figures come from these mother goddesses. Even though they're very, very shitty to women, and they don't really seem like they would revere women at all, and they worship Allah and Muhammad, their central mythology and their mother figures, in the same way that Christianity holds Mary Magdalene and Mother Mary and the Holy Ghost as these feminine entities, the same way in Islam, they're worshiping this specific feminine astrological conjunction, Taurus being the feminine aspect of Venus, and the moon being a feminine, the receptive feminine body, of all of the planetary archons. Pretty much, it is seen as the most central, motherly, nurturing, and feminine. So it's a very, very female-oriented, female worship religion, whereas Christianity is worshiping the sun, the projective force. Even the cross is kind of like the flaming sword in Kabbalah. It's making the conjunctions to the same planets associated with the same Sephiroth on the Tree of Life.
Also an unfolded cube.
An unfolded cube, yes. If you take, now this is getting into like the Tree of Life, Kabbalah, Judaism stuff, but if you take the Tree of Life and you trace a cross over it, you're getting the aspects that make up the foundations and what people generally think of as the central tenets of Christianity. You have well, Michael, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say that, it extends beyond the Abrahamic faiths as well, where you can find other religions that have different worship of Saturn, and the mythologies surrounded by what each culture of the past in different regions attributed to Saturn. So whenever I look I listen to different mythological stories, it's almost like these Greek gods or ancient gods or wherever, are essentially, I always interpret them as they're like representing some level of psychology of man that we note as being just a very strong thing within our lives, and these are the lessons that we try to attribute to them. And for whatever reason, when you rewind the clock back before TikTok, Snapchat, Vine, YouTube, all the different alt sites, and a handful of presidencies, and before electronics, you go, okay, well, what are you doing? You're sitting in the desert, you're sitting outside, you're sitting in your temple as your house, and you're looking at the stars. And it's like, well, what is it that you got a loud ass keyboard, bro, that is making why are they attributing so much energy and emotion and feeling and stories to these specific places? And then you get into, as Habb was saying, like different mystery schools, where it's like you have the
You can mute him real quick, Michael.
yeah, just let me know when you're ready to come back.
Just mute him.
Yeah. Thanks, I wasn't the only one. So you look at these stories And man, that threw me off. Right.
I thought I did fucking mute my mic. God damn it. I'm sorry.
It's all good. You have these mystery schools, and he brings up Freemasonry and different ones, and I think you can make an argument that there was beyond just speculative masonry and the other one, operative, that there was a big adding of all this stuff with the addition of them accepting the Templars in the 13th century, 14th century, 1300s, whenever that happened, and you added this worship of the stars and cosmology. That's the word I was looking for.
You mentioned the Templars, and that reminded me of that show on History Channel, The Curse of Oak Island. They're following pretty much the stars and whatnot, trying to figure out who placed whatever that treasure is down below, and they've come to the conclusion. Well, it's not 100% yet, but they believe it's Templar treasure.
And the Templar treasure is this knowledge.
Yeah.
The Templar treasure is all of that, like Library of Alexandria shit. I think it's just a bunch of a big library of all of this information, or at least where to get it, and a lot of people ask, where the fuck did they get this information? And probably drugs, ritual, communion with the, the same way Crowley talked about, I got, Book of the Law was dictated by Iwas to me in the pyramid. He's talking about some entity. When people talk about, is it a demon? Is it an angel? Is it your higher self? Is it your whatever? It's it's all of those things, but it's coming from the stars.
Yeah. What story do you want to attribute to it? Is missing? Is muddying the waters, and then there's the waters.
You mentioned Crowley and Iwas. Is that how you say it? Iwas?
Yeah.
Iwas.
So from what I've gathered, I'm pretty sure that landed on a solar eclipse, right? It was April 8th, I believe, 4/8.
It was on. So this is what I think it's the 120th, the 120th anniversary of him doing that. I cannot remember the exact date. I cannot remember if it was 100 years ago or some shit like that. I cannot remember when he did that, but it was April 8th of. Sometime, which lines up with this eclipse. Side note, I think we mentioned it before, but Kurt Cobain died.
We didn't mention that. That was last night, but yeah.
Yeah. Kurt Cobain.
4/8, by the way. Sorry to cut you up, but 4/8 has been popping up a lot. When just looking at all the schizo information, I like to call it. Like I mentioned in the beginning of the stream, earthquakes. That was 4.8. Earthquake as well. Just I don't get into gematria much, but I happen to notice it.
Yeah, that seems to be
that'd be a synchronicity, but yeah.
Yeah, there's a synchronicity or whatever, but yeah, sure it is. It's just a coincidence. Just a coincidence.
Right. Oh, come on, guys. There are no coincidences.
No, but there definitely is an occult side to this eclipse.
Yeah.
Should I play that one?
Wait, you got a clip?
I don't know. I don't know. I was segueing that to the occult side of the eclipse because that's a video we have pulled up, and I don't know. Do we pull that up now or do we?
Sure, go
the
for
Robert
it.
Pepper one?
No, there's an order to this stuff, Jimmy.
Sorry, I was totally not paying attention at that point.
Holy crap! This is a 2-hour video. Habb.
Oh, I thought that said 2 minutes and 49 seconds.
Yeah, and we'll just click somewhere else that doesn't say copyright. There we go. Yeah, forget all that. So,
Never mind. That there was the CERN portal something or other. I'm sure.
Well,
that one's only 16 minutes.
The what one?
The
CERN? Oh yeah, we didn't even mention CERN yet, but yeah, CERN's doing some funky business tomorrow as well. Right?
Well, they turned that puppy on. So
I don't know exactly what they're doing. I guess they tried before.
Let's be fair. Let's be fair. Like they say, they're opening black holes and smashing it. The truth is, no one knows what they're doing there.
Well,
would be
they
more
said they said they're looking for a ghost or something. They found a 4D ghost or something like that. Let me see if I can find what they actually said.
Yeah, I'm calling misinformation. Cool
Well,
if
yeah.
true. Cool if
I
true.
mean, they found a ghost haunting physicists. Holy fuck! Found a ghost haunting in the world's most famous particle accelerator. That was on March 29th.
Base truth or
Modeling a
says
3D shape that requires a 4D system.
Mhm.
Anyways, they're up to shenanigans. Sorry, I didn't pre-read this at all, so I don't know any good spots to pick from.
yeah, this is why.
I'm calling shenanigans. Hey, you should have just watched that fucking video.
What, the CERN and Nephilim? What one?
I'm sure it's. I'm sure it
I
was
don't know
fine.
the order. Play it.
Which one? Concerning the Nephilim? Sure. And as we segue into this clip beautifully, Base Truther in the chat says the eclipse apparently is going through Crowley, Texas.
I didn't know that one.
I didn't know that either. You know what I did see? If you look at the Space Control or the Space Command logo, apparently there's like some swishes. I'll pull up a picture of it after this clip, and it looks like the path that goes through that the eclipse goes through is also within that that logo, and I guess that's a branch of the DoD. The Large Hadron Collider. This guy, damn it.
It's
There
Jimmy
is-
and I's favorite.
Natural
I like this dude.
at CERN than what is being admitted. Even Adam Barker of Tech Bubble wrote of CERN a while back that with the LHC, CERN are expecting to find other dimensions and open portals to these dimensions. If you have the image of Stargate in your head right now, you're spot on. That's what he said. And then he went on to draw parallels to the biblical story of Jacob's ladder.
Wait,
Perhaps
this is the guy that does End Times production?
says-
Pause. No. This is just the guy who he's always interviewed from time to time. The guy who does End Times is some long-haired kid I've seen
Oh, okay.
before. He shows his
Okay.
face occasionally.
Okay.
Behold, there was a ladder set up on the earth, and the top of it reached to heaven. And behold, the angels of God were ascending and descending on it. Then Jacob wakes up from his sleep and he says, surely the Lord is in this place, and I did not know it. And he was afraid. And he says, how awesome is this place? This is none other than the house of God, and this is the gate of heaven, Genesis 28. Now, this ladder, described in the first book of the Bible, describes something like a portal from heaven to earth through which God's angels, interdimensional and spiritual beings from another reality, were traveling. When Jacob wakes up, he refers to the location as a gate, much like today's trendy terms, gateway or stargate. One of CERN's goals is to recreate Jacob's ladder, according to Barker, and to reopen a portal. Now, Sergio Bertolucci, who is the official director for research and scientific computing at CERN, he was asked a while back about this extra-dimensional doorway by the Register, which is a London and New York operated science and technology journal. And he didn't hesitate with an enlightening response. He said, yes, out of this door might come something, or we might send.
Yeah, unknown unknowns, for instance, quote unquote, an extra dimension. So we went from like, hey, you want to go see some stuff, like just go meditate and I don't know, eat a mushroom, and now we're doing science for it. So we really came a long way as a society.
Something through it. Now, prophecy in numerous parts of the Bible refer to a coming day when portals will be opened and spiritual entities are going to pass through and come to the earth. Now, if that's true, and if those verses are accepted for their literal meaning and not written off as some kind of poetic allegory, as some scholars have claimed, then the idea of CERN playing with gateways is a major concern.
This is Houston. Say again, please.
And if, as CERN claims, they're only out to explore space, time, matter, particles, and the origin of our known universe and planets from exclusively a scientific or Darwinian related perspective, if their agenda is unrelated to Bible prophecy entirely, then what is it with all this mystical symbolism that they knowingly are associating themselves with? Wouldn't it be more appropriate for them just to proudly display a polished statue of a particle or some artist depiction of the Big Bang instead of the statue of Shiva? For those who have not yet heard about this controversial piece of art that CERN proudly exhibits between buildings 39 and 40 near the main building of their operation, it stands as really the most visible and celebrated imagery behind their work, Shiva. This is the Hindu god of destruction. In 2004, the government of India, which has had a long-standing friendship with leaders behind the CERN project even before the completion of the Large Hadron Collider, they gifted CERN with this bronze work of an art depicting Shiva as Nataraja, the lord or sometimes king of the dance. This dance that Shiva performs in the sculpture is the one that provides the source of the creation cycle in Hindu mythology, the preservation of all life and existence, and the termination of all life and existence. The Rudra Tandava is a dance that especially displays Shiva's sadistic personality as he rains down the ultimate destruction upon a weary planet.
So as we see this video of everything going to absolute shit, what's the 411 on Shiva, Habb?
What's the 411 on Wesley in the fucking chat? The fuck are you talking about, dude?
Uh-oh. Returning to the chat here. What happened?
What happened to the Shasha person?
The fuck? What are you talking about, bro?
Well, I
wish we
mean,
could
in your
highlight the
defense,
comment.
in your defense, we have essentially labeled your followers or members of your stream as schizos, so we might be manifesting something there.
Well, if you don't stop, I'm gonna have to mute you.
Uh-oh.
And you're talking about Shiva. Shiva's goddess of destruction, or god of destruction. But it's about cycles. It's renewing cycles. It's the order out of chaos is why the secret societies like Shiva. Like simply, there's a lot more to it, but it's destruction, recreation of the universe in the Hindu shit. There's a lot of people who see a connection to science and physics and shit regarding the connection to like the atom. I don't know enough about science and physics and stuff to really make those like super like apt comparisons to what it is they're talking about, but there is a connection to Shiva, to Shiva being a rebirthing kind of thing. It's a rebirth, order out of chaos kind of thing, healer energy. I think Shiva might in astrology might be associated with Scorpio. Scorpio in astrology is a lot about healing through destruction, cleansing energy. The whole thing, though, that I find the most interesting about CERN's, particle accelerator thing is that it's making the same. It's an Ouroboros, and they tell you as much. They're making the snake eating its tail. And if you know the significance in astrology of what a eclipse is, astrologically, they believe it is a celestial dragon eating the sun or moon. So, and they believe that that's the destruction. They believe that when the sun is eclipsed, or the moon is eclipsed, it's partially being destroyed, and what you see after it is the birth of a new universe, where the new intention that was set before has now come to fruition, or is going to come to fruition as per magic or whatever. But it is a gate, but it's all of this is metaphorical. It's not going to be there's not going to be a physical gate open up in the sky unless they do some crazy Project Bluebeam shit, which I'm very curious about. Have you guys, this is going to be kind of a separate thing, but have you seen those new hologram video screens at like concert events and shit?
Yeah.
Like go to raves and shit, and they've got like fucking people coming out of the goddamn screen.
Yeah.
It looks like it's coming out of the screen at you. I mean, they're putting that much technology and money into something just purely for entertainment. Now imagine what they could do to, a populace of people that doesn't know any better. You get plenty of people who run to the news, the police, the church when they think they see some lights in the sky that they don't recognize. They're moving erratically. That's it. Now imagine if there was a very realistic looking fucking gate opening up in the sky, or if you're in some let's say lower average IQ country, and they see a beast in the sky, or they see some mythological creature in the sky. You're setting the stage for some really crazy shit with that Project Bluebeam stuff, but with what CERN's talking about opening a portal that you might send something through, or something might come out of it. They're speaking magically. They're saying they're sending their intention into whatever that they're, whatever space-time portal, moon portal that they're following. They're following along with the moon, because that's how magic works. You're following along with the moon cycles. So when they're doing something with the eclipse, the moon is eclipsing the sun, therefore that's apt time to set your intention for new beginnings. It's in Aries, which is the first sign of the zodiac. So this is all about new beginnings on like a very microcosmic scale. On a personal level, some people might be going through personal changes. Some people might be going through radical personal changes, reinventing themselves of how they want to appear to the world versus how they may appear in their job. Someone might start a new business. Someone might have a new lease on life kind of thing. Whereas politically, these things are going to mean more stoking more intention for revolution, stoking more anger, stoking more hot-headedness, more Aries is the god of war. So we know there's been talk of war for the past few years, people guessing civil war, people guessing nuclear war, World War III, shit like that. So now you have an eclipse happening in the sign of the god of war. And if you want to go with magic, it takes 6 months for the new moon to go into the full moon of the same sign. So if you're setting an intention for something on the new moon in Aries, it's going to come to fruition in the full moon in Aries 6 months later. 6 months from now, well, we know what's going on.
Yeah, October running up into something that happens in November. Can't put my finger on it.
So, tangent aside, I think what CERN is doing is you could say opening up a portal, metaphorically, to that other side. Opening up a portal to set intentions for their new world that they seek through destruction. A new clean world that they seek through destruction. This is more, metaphorical symbolism for their new world order.
Yeah, it's a lot darker than what people were talking about in the 60s about like it'll be an age of Aquarius and everyone will be happy and smash capitalism or whatever they were doing, getting free wheat. Which also astrology, Aquarius.
Oh yeah. So when did we get into the age of Aquarius? I meant to ask you that earlier.
That's debated on who you ask, and most astrologers aren't sure. Some
Aren't we
people will
at
say the dawning of the age of Aquarius was in like the 60s with the hippie movement, and a lot of people say that it officially begins. It hasn't begun yet, but the actual dawning of it is with Pluto moving into Aquarius this past February.
Huh.
Okay, and you said that kind of lines up with. Hold on a minute, I have a note here. We said there always shit always happens on this time when we go into. God damn it, was it Pisces?
It's in April, so that's when we're going into Aries, which is again God of War kind of territory. So when in Kabbalah, though, in rabbinical Judaism, this is what is it again, Michael? Passover, right?
Purim.
I always get those fucking confused.
Well, no, we just had Easter, so that's probably a thing too.
But they worship it as their new year. This is their lunar new year. So when they're doing this kind of stuff, following along with their moon magic and shit, the new intentions and the more what they would call malefic aspects, where it's ruled by Mars or Saturn or something that teaches you a lesson or something that is a little bit more baneful or bad, generally seen as bad, restrictive, confrontational. These things are all things that come up in Aries season astrologically, so they're mirroring that in their rituals. April has, throughout history, been a very difficult month or challenging month, and then in a lot of cases, a very deadly month. The Titanic was sunk in April. Abraham Lincoln was assassinated in April. The Tiananmen Square massacre was in April. Columbine massacre was in April.
You mentioned Kurt.
The what was it? IT Tech, the Virginia Tech Institute massacre was in April. Boston bombing, April. The Notre Dame fires that I did the video on was in April. There's a whole bunch of other things that I'm completely forgetting, but there's tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of events that happened during April, during what they call the Ides of April, that lead up to their a few years ago when I was doing that video, I just kind of saw it as like, okay, these are their satanic holidays. These are their satanic high rites and rituals and shit. I don't really know what they mean or why they do them. They're just something that they do because Satan tells them to, I guess.
Yeah.
Understanding it astrologically, you understand that it's because they're setting their intentions for the new year. They're setting their intentions for with the trajectory that they're going. Remember, what was the purpose of the sinking the Titanic? It was to halt any blockages that could have come to the founding of the Federal Reserve. All of these, if you really, I'm sure someone could break down astrologically those themes of water, Pisces, blockages, Aries, and money and restriction with Saturn. I'm sure there's all kinds of stuff you could break down in it, but specifically with all different kinds of things that are going on today, it's looking like their intention is to kind of make people as angry as possible.
Yeah, it's like they're trying to really feed off those emotions.
Breaking news. Wow. The powers that, so there you go, everybody. The powers that be like to shake things up a bit.
You didn't need to know anything about astrology to get that.
No.
Have you said that last night? You said, you didn't say it tonight, but bringing it up now, that the new year doesn't actually start in January,
depending on
correct?
your calendar.
If you go if you go by the right calendar, it's actually in April. Right?
Yeah, so if you're going by the lunar calendar, it's going to be with Aries. Aries is the first sign.
Easy with that right calendar shit.
Right calendar. But if you're going by a lunar calendar, yes, like some religions do, they now Passover and Purim are their New Year's Eve and New Year's Day celebrations. They're like a month apart, because they see Pisces as the end. Pisces is the ending, in astrology, Pisces is the last zodiacal sign, and it's all about the things that we learned in the past year, everything we learned in the past year, the culmination of everything, the lessons learned, and it's also about the energy gathered. There's a big aspect of their end of year celebrations being about the focusing on the energy, the negative energy that one receives, and then resting from that energy in order to purge it from your body, in order to purge it from your spirit and whatever. So you're renewed for the next season. You're renewed for the next cycle. But when they go through
It's a harvest of souls.
Yeah, when they're going through this,
Bring me the Horizon song.
but there's all these things that are, and I don't, it's just all of it's going to sound crazy it's going to sound crazy regardless of if I try to explain it. It probably sounds more crazy if I try to explain it. But there's a big aspect of it too that is really, really important regarding like we were talking about shadow aspects, brought up that idea of the shadow self, and
Shadow self.
If you guys are familiar with the Jungian idea, I'm pretty sure Robert Zephyr has a lot of videos on Carl Jung. But to kind of summarize, it's basically just the idea of, in a lot of media and in a lot of books and a lot of literature, it's just kind of a trope to have an archetype be your central character's opposite or foil, be aspects of himself that he just rejects, so the shadow self being a part of the self that only you can really know, and it's the sides of the self that you need to suppress in daily life, that you feel some sort of guilt or shame or embarrassment around, something that you either stifle or rebel against, some dark aspect of the self, where during eclipse seasons, astrologically they believe that these are shadow aspects of themselves, of the self, of the universe, be eclipsing the sun. And psychologically, your sun being your ability to illuminate yourself and others, how you shine in the world, that's your explanation for why you get people acting, volatile, angry, short-tempered, miscommunication, inability to communication, travel delays, all things like that are going to be kind of referred to as like shadow aspects of the self, but it's a manifestation of these negative traits. So if you guys are familiar with like, do you guys see that fucking that Wolverine movie, Logan, where he's like an old man?
I didn't know. I don't watch those movies.
Fuck.
Why? What's the scene?
The main character, the main bad guy in that is Wolverine's shadow. It literally is. It's a younger version of him that can't talk and just kills everything around him. Oh, it's obvious. If you know anything about the comic books and shit, they're just kind of making the parable of, oh, he's his own worst enemy, and that's how you have the idea of the embodiment of your alter ego. I can't think of off the top of my head other things that utilize that same trope. I mean, the dark side in Star Wars is kind of the same. The bad version, the dark version of your main character is the same thing. Everything that he hates about himself is the enemy, and he has to learn to incorporate that aspect of himself in order to grow and to move forward and all that shit. So with this all comes from ideas of eclipses, and this happening with eclipses,
It does tie together.
these shadow aspects of the self eclipsing your sunshine and eclipsing your ability to illuminate the world around you will equal people's inner demons coming out and coming to the surface and being illuminated. Essentially,
So it's like you're repenting.
it's kind of, but if it's being forced out of you and you don't know it and you're not aware, you're just going to act like a fucking asshole, or the worst aspects of yourself are going to come to the surface. And now we think about, okay, if that's what's going on energetically during an eclipse, why would they be moving everybody into one very small strip of America, be wanting to move everybody? And it's during a Mercury retrograde when travel is strained and challenged, and cars don't work, people's phones die, technology fucks up, everything having to do with travel and communication is challenged or stifled, or it doesn't manifest the way it's supposed to. So you've got all this shit going on with people's inner demons coming to the surface, and we're going to put it in the sign of the god of war, and we're going to shove everybody into one small little location or into one strip of a location that happens to go energetically across, the Texas-Mexico border, where
Historically, it'd be a bad idea.
Yes. And there's a lot of astrological events happening this month that are really, really intense and kind of scary for a lot of people who follow this shit. One of which is an aspect that hasn't happened since the last time it happened was when the lockdowns hit.
Oh,
so little things like that where it's like, okay, you can spot it.
Which is interesting because now there's a state of emergency being called in many different states. So we see someone in chat right now, friend, follower. This guy is in Indiana saying that's happened there. Is it in New York?
There's restricted travel, but I don't think they declared a state of emergency here.
Mm-hmm.
But I know that's been at least 4 states, I believe.
Yeah, and they say it's because of travel. Everyone's gonna come, staring at this thing. Let's see. Arkansas has called it. West Virginia called it. Kentucky called it. Part of Texas, Ohio, Missouri County, Charleston County, Jackson County, Kansas City. And there's been talk about, make sure you guys have water and a full tank of gas, which is weird. Full tank, like we're already planning out a trip. So.
Yeah, and they keep putting out like state of emergency orders. They keep putting out fucking food shortage warnings, and it's all things that are going to make people on edge. All of these things are.
Sorry to make me talk. I was just going to say the thing that weird that's happening, I guess, around me is all the schools did close for tomorrow. I don't believe any during a solar eclipse there's closed schools, but
no. That's not a thing. Neither is earthquakes usually.
Right. It hit in New Jersey, and they haven't had an earthquake there, and I don't know how many years.
Couldn't tell by looking at it.
And it couldn't have been at a more volatile time too.
Right.
And again, not to get back into the crazy astrology shit. I know it sounds crazy, but this is all stuff that, like, if you listen and read these people, they talk about the same thing. They're like, like 3 weeks ago, one of the people I was listening to was like, it's earthquake season, but this is going to happen, and it's going to be in a very shocking way. There's going to be like there's aspects happening. It's Jupiter and Uranus conjoining together in Taurus. The reason why is because it's shocking, expansive Earth energy. They're like, every time that happens, it leads to heavy earthquakes. Last time it happened was 14 years ago, and that was that tsunami in what was it, Indonesia or whatever, the one
I want
that
to say Japan, but that's not right.
something Taiwan or whatever it was, where it was that movie The Impossible was based on it. Big giant crazy tsunami that fucked up a lot of people. That happened the last time that alignment. The last time that alignment happened, there was massive tsunami that had, worldwide ramifications, kind of thing. This conjunction is not happening until April 20th. April 20th being probably the biggest date, the most commonly, fallen on date for those massacres or mass false flag events, mass, ritual events kind of thing that they do, seem to fall on April 20th a lot. April 20th this year is a conjunction, a very rare conjunction that has not happened in 13 years and has not happened in the sign in 84 years. So I can't think of what happened 84 years exactly, but off the top of my head. But they're following along with this shit. And the earthquakes that we just had in Japan and in New Jersey are both indicative of, a lot of those people say it's indicative of something coming. Like, you feel the tremors now, and then there's going to be ramping up chaos, ramping up control, and then the response to the chaos.
Mm-hmm. Sasha says that's what she was thinking, and they're trying to get people freaked out. And Mo says nothing to be concerned with. Just take the day off, stay home with 3 days of emergency supplies. Always looking for a good reason to stay home, so I'll take that. Trying to get people freaked out. That's another good point. It's like, as they're putting out these articles and they're saying that the giant machine in Switzerland is about to, do its thing, and the eclipse is going to happen in a spookadoo place. Ultimately, all they have to do is report on it, and they already got the ether moving in the way that they want to. So it's really just kind of like, those who get worked up about it get to, be part of the giant passion play that they're putting on right now. And it is on the clock, so we'll be seeing shortly. So along the way, we've brought up a handful of places that they've declared state of emergency, that they've declared different warnings. In this whole country, apparently there are 9 towns called Nineveh, and a couple of those are within the path of said eclipse. What's the before we play this video, what's the 411 on Nivena? Is this a biblical name, I'm assuming?
It's a Hebrew name. And it's a weird thing, but as far as I can connect it, it basically just means Inanna.
Okay.
It is, and if y'all don't know, the goddess Inanna, that's Ishtar, that's Queen Semiramis, that's Tiamat, Tammuz, all of the Mother Earth goddesses who have sex with their son in order to bring fertility and bring abundance to, the world. Like when they're doing their ball, like the ball rituals and shit, when they do, it's the sky god, the god of thunder, the god of rain, impregnating Mother Earth. So they will reenact that by having a son fuck the mother. Sometimes they'll do that with in like the really weird alchemy shit. They'll do like they'll have a they'll insert a calf into the mother cow, into the mother bovine, and then sew it back up and like chop its fucking head off.
Whoa.
And like all that kind of shit. That's all that stuff that you can read in the Book of the Cow. Those are like older, like those really old. I think the Book of the Cow is like supposed to be the oldest known medieval like grimoire from like
What
700s or something. Or no, not that old, not that old. But
Grimoire's got to go back before then. But
they can, but like they're the medieval text or
okay,
I think it was in maybe 800, maybe 900, something like that. Either way, it's one of the older ones that Crowley took a whole lot of inspiration from in his rituals. It's a lot of stuff of, you know,
these people and cows, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of cows and shit, maybe I'm jumping ahead. Let me know if I am. But where does this red heifer come into play? You guys hear about that all lately?
mm-hmm.
Yeah, they
Is
always
that like down the road, or is that something that's supposed to be happening in April?
No, that is absolutely falls in with this. The fact that that's happening, that's another one of those things that, I mean, it's like people call me crazy about talking about the astrology shit, and then they'll be like, "Oh yeah, I know about the red heifer thing. That means the Antichrist is coming." It's like, but that's what it is. The Jewish Messiah is coming when they believe the perfect red heifer is born. They then sacrifice it, and that means the third temple can be commenced to be built for the coming Messiah.
which is rather problematic because that's currently where the Alaska Mosque is. And if you want to see more schizo connections on that, check out his doc, The Dark Days of April. Because it's kind of problematic when you have the third temple is supposed to be. You have an Islamic temple there, and they just happen to have tunnels underneath there that the Israeli militaries be going into. So I don't know what could happen, but we'll see what happens. This guy.
The most dangerous place to live very soon, and it's happening now, is America.
April 8th, solar eclipse crosses over Aztec ruins, Memphis Pyramid in Memphis, Gateway Arch, City of Cleveland, Town of Buffalo, 9 towns named Nineveh on the 99th day of the year. That's right, the 99th day of the year. The eclipse takes place on the 99th day of the year, and it passes over 9 towns named Nineveh.
Huh.
Let that register. Marinate on that.
Oh. God damn.
The public are
Yeah, we get it. So we see this, and I just couldn't help but notice another video, and I have no connection to this whatsoever to make or point to prove, but we see this thing, this line, remember where it goes throughout the country that is America? And then we have the picture of the logo of the U.S. Space Command that, I guess it doesn't really go directly through that.
It's close enough.
Close enough. You see what we're trying to do. Someone could say something about that in the government.
I did not know that there's that many towns called, what is it? Nineveh?
Nineveh, I think.
Nineveh.
Yeah, I'm gonna be real. I hadn't heard that either. Not of a town named with that.
Yeah, the Stranger Than Fiction video is 1 hour and 44 minutes long, by the way.
Well, we could skim through that for a second. Is that the one that with the Mel Gibson? Is that the Passion of the Christ one?
It's yeah, I think so. This one? This is
yeah, let's see. Let's just look at that for a second.
All right, we'll see what happens.
Great speech. I was telling the secretary, I was in Jordan and Israel.
Let's look at the Android mask. Look at that dummy. That absolute, like, not real person.
Habb's trashing our dear president. That's all, Michael.
Oh, okay.
Sure, just that was good.
You should put us on the side.
Oh, okay.
מה שלא יאות, וגם משהו שעדיין משאיר ליבו. אז הייתה משהו עם מה ידיעתו. הכנראה שהיא מספיק, כאילו שהיום כבר...
Are they listening to Sade in the background?
אבל יש עוד כמה שעות,
Sounds like it.
שעות, אבל יש משתדלים גם היום, בבשורות טובות.
The Bible says that there is a time for peace and a time for war. לעולם לא נשכח את מעשי הזוועה שעשו לנו אויבינו. אנחנו הולמים באויבינו בעוצמה חסרת תקדים. אני מדגיש, זאת רק ההתחלה.
Oh boy.
Honestly, I did not know Stranger Than Fiction was this based.
We will exact a price that will be remembered by them and Israel's other enemies for decades to come.
Today, Netanyahu's leadership is on the verge of imploding, deeply unpopular with his own people, and under immense pressure from the international community.
La lutte doit être sans merci, mais pas sans règles.
This is a fall from grace for a man who was reportedly told by one of the most powerful Jewish religious figures in the world that he would be the one to welcome the Messiah.
Huh. So, if there's any Jesus out there, Netanyahu's waiting for you. Is there anything specific we should click through on this?
Honestly, I hadn't watched any of it. I just saw that this person was...
Who is this?
Huh?
Who's the uploader?
Isn't that Stranger Than Fiction?
Oh. I didn't even know they made videos still.
I know. I thought so too. I was like, oh, okay. I'm going to have to at least give this a look on here. Something about, Trump and all that.
Well, hey, I mean, I did ask about the red heifer, so yeah, it works.
But I mean, this is all Israel shit. That's why I was talking about it. So it's like, oh, okay. Well, let's just watch this for a second.
Works for me.
Okay.
I like the little scroll on the bottom, by the way, Michael.
Oh, well, yeah, I was just trying to figure out, wait a second, where does this tie in? But the other thing you linked, I think, has a little bit more relevancy because, it is Sunday and the thing that's happening is on Monday.
This is what happens when they realize that most people are absolutely, completely asleep, dumbed down, and don't realize what's going on. They can say the truth right in front of your face, and you won't even hear it, for the most part.
Earthquake in 140 years, John.
Look at all of that. And it's not over yet because we've got the Eclipse earthquake coming up on Monday. As Deborah Ross was telling us.
Okay, I saw this. I saw that clip. I saw that clip earlier today. Did he just say that by accident? Did he mean to say just the solar eclipse?
It seems like it was like a little bit of a slip, but I think he actually meant that because there is supposed to be.
Yeah, so we should be prepared for another quake tomorrow then?
Mm-hmm. I saw Dick say that it has something to do with fault lines too, which I mean that is where earthquakes kind of birth.
Who was in the area of totality?
So yeah, that just happened. That really just happened. For whatever reason, the mainstream news talking head dude decided to tell us that there would be an earthquake during the eclipse. Now, let me show you a couple of crazy little wacky things. I find it very, very odd that many people that actually lived in the area either said that it sounded like an explosion that was an earthquake type feeling thing afterwards, and the fact that it was a 4.8. January, February, March, April, the fourth month of the year, the 8th. Really, dude? I mean, right directly straight up in front of our faces. And then don't forget that we've got the Statue of Liberty getting hit by lightning and the mainstream once again reporting it looks like lightning's coming down from the sky, but then it also looks like it's coming out of the torch up into the sky.
Oh, never thought of that.
That's a strange thing to say.
And so,
it's just an odd, strange thing to say.
Yeah.
So
what I was saying earlier too about the Nineveh, the connection being Inanna, Ishtar, that's also Queen Semiramis or Columbia. The Statue of Liberty is Columbia. She is supposed to be, but she's also. We could also get into the whole tranny thing.
Yeah,
That is a goddamn tranny.
Back when I was into my transvestigation conspiracy stuff, that's one of the first things that I learned is
back
that
in
Statue of Liberty is
Jimmy's
actually
day.
a man.
And so
What's that, Mike?
Back when Jimmy was out there pants and drag queens for research.
No.
So with the Inanna and Queen Semiramis stuff, we know that the temple priests of Sodom, the Sodomite priests, that's who they were worshiping, was the goddess Inanna, the Ishtar hermaphroditic queen thing. The Sodomite priests would castrate themselves in honor of Inanna, and they would dress as women and become temple prostitutes to the public or whatever. It was really the priests and shit. So
that worked out for him
pretty well. So the Statue of Liberty is a symbol of the goddess Inanna. The eclipse is passing through
the Statue of Liberty has a dick. Did that what I just caught on?
Basically.
Or you're supposed to give your dick to her.
Basically. No, you can give your dick to her, but she is a hermaphroditic god, so she is both. But like Baphomet, most of the time it is seen as that's a man who cut off his dick and then is assuming the role of a woman so well that he is worshipped as a goddess. Look at what they do with drag queens today. They do the same thing. They call each other goddess. They call each other girl. They call each other queen slay. They call each other all kinds of fucking crazy shit. And it's literally the same thing. They're literally doing the same thing. So when we see the goddess Inanna here, there's 9. The eclipse is passing through 9 cities named after the goddess Inanna. The symbol of the goddess is being struck by lightning or being seen as casting this lightning bolt. Astrologically, I think it's interesting that the shape of the lightning bolt in that picture looks a lot like the constellation Taurus, where these aspects would be happening, Jupiter and Uranus in Taurus. But also, if you're into that whole divination thing where you read candles, like they do like flame divination when they're doing tarot readings and stuff.
Never heard of it.
Like the whole point of incense. Like when you light an incense cone or something, they're looking at the smoke and the direction that the smoke is flowing.
Oh.
And so if you have a question, you ask the smoke or the spirit, and the spirit will communicate through whatever means you have. So that's what tarot cards are. The spirits are talking to you through the means of communication with smoke.
I was going to say, speaking of communication and questions, and Taurus, your friend in the chat had a deep dive within a comment about what's going on with, I think, Uranus and Taurus right now. If Habb, you can read that one first.
Let's see.
Oh, Sasha.
And yes, I hear Riley
Uranus, Taurus, natural disasters, value innovation, digital currency. I don't know, and I'd have to see what the aspect is, but I think it's Uranus and Jupiter are making that conjunction soon. Yeah, that's what I was talking about earlier, Sasha. Jupiter and Uranus are making a conjunction in Taurus on April 20th. And they haven't made a connection in 14 years, I think, 13 or 14 years. And the last time they did in the same sign of Taurus was 84 years ago. I don't know what happened off the top of my head 84 years ago, but I believe the last time this conjunction happened, it was that tsunami in 2007 or whatever that was. But the point is that I think it's very interesting that, so to go to the divination thing, it's very interesting that looks like Taurus. It looks like the constellation Taurus. I think that is a very important point as far as astrology goes. Some people don't even think about that shit. Like, they can't even get past the sun and the moon sign. So Jupiter and Uranus talking about those outer planets is just going to be kind of like, what the fuck are you talking about? And I understand that, but like, that, Sasha, that's a very, very good comment. And Mo, that's a very good comment too. Understanding the connections of these things and the mythology, the themes of the mythology. I mean, that's how you kind of understand it. Knowing what the mythology means and what these deities mean and what these characters mean and their interactions with each other mean are going to give you a grander view of how these things are going to play out. But what I was talking about with the smoke divination thing or the fire divination, when they light an incense cone or they're praying to a candle or something, they're looking at the movement of the smoke of the candle and they believe the spirit's communicating with them. When a flame or a smoke trail does what that picture is doing, it starts in one line and then splits into two. They're just saying you're at a crossroads. There's something at a crossroads in life. You could look at the Statue of Liberty as a symbol of the country. The country is indeed at a crossroads right now. The eclipses are making literal crossroads, an X across America. Almost, you could say maybe it's looking like they're Xing out America. They're obliterating it. Maybe it's time for America to split. You don't need to know anything about astrology to know that politically that's kind of where they've been pushing things. Mm-hmm. Split from, secession or whatever that may end up meaning. But
our adversaries would love that.
The point the point I'm trying to make of that is like what we've always talked about, and that everything that they show you has some esoteric meaning. It has some connection to what they're trying to enact or whatever it is that they're worshiping.
Hey, let's tally up here.
So much knowledge. Sorry, go on. I was just complimenting them.
The eclipse is coming on the 4/8. It's coming with the devil comet connected to it, which is just a strange, odd, unusual, queer thing. It's a 4.8, which happens to be the exact date of the eclipse. And then magically, suddenly, and out of the blue, Sicily's Mount Etna starts blowing rare smoke rings into the sky, which is just weird. I mean, look at these things. These are coming out of a volcano in Sicily. It's blowing smoke rings. Now, let me explain something to you, and this should make sense. It should make some sense. But before they use their machinery, the technology that they've had for the longest time, they knew how to make earthquakes long ago. We know about this. If you're going to blast the Northeast, you got to do a test run first, because you can't set up for the big day and then just hit the button and go, oh shit, it didn't work. This was the test run. This was the test run right here. This all happening at the exact same time. And then magically you've got this happening now. This is now a thing.
Security warning right here in the U.S. from the FBI and Homeland Security, warning of potential threats to public gatherings. The timing of this and why they're concerned tonight. Here's our Chief Justice correspondent, Pierre Thomas, with late reporting.
Tonight, FBI and Homeland Security officials are warning U.S. law enforcement about the potential for terror inspired by...
What is that?
Inspired by that deadly ISIS attack in Moscow, targeting a concert hall.
Wait.
Concern, according...
ISIS. Statue of Liberty's Isis, too. That's another name for the goddess Isis. She's another representation of that. I forgot about that. That just jogged my memory. Okay, so but there's going to be a false flag attack with they're going to blame it on ISIS.
That's what you're predicting?
I think so.
All right, place your bets, everyone.
I haven't heard ISIS in forever. I didn't even know they were still a thing.
I know, right? I completely forgot about that Moscow thing.
There's an ISIS K, I guess. I don't know. I pay attention to other cults.
According to the bulletin, violence targeting mass gatherings such as sports stadiums, concert venues, or houses of worship in the United States. Law enforcement told.
We have now been informed by a friend in the chat that Moscow Arena was not ISIS K. However, ISIS K still exists, I think, unless it doesn't. Then
Be on the lookout for any suspicious activity. The bulletin coming just days before millions will gather to watch the eclipse on Monday. Authorities say following the Moscow attack, ISIS and its supporters celebrated the assault and shared graphic and violent attack footage. The terror group calling for similar attacks in the United States.
That's not good.
I'm told U.S. law enforcement is being urged to take this bulletin seriously. Sources say ISIS remains a very real threat.
That's right. ISIS is a very real threat because ISIS is our government, Israel's government, every central intelligence agency type situation in every country, because they're all working for the New World Order right now. But I mean, come on, here we go. Here we go. How many signs can we possibly be getting from these people? It is just absolutely unbelievable to me, all the wacky things that are occurring. Mount Etna, are volcanoes really some sort of an exhaust pipe for machinery that's underground? And this is, you know, what does CERN do? CERN blows things in circles. There you go. Blows things in circles. Be careful of 4-8. They've been telling everybody for a month and a half to make sure they're outside. They're shutting down the entire world so that you can see this eclipse and blah, blah, blah. And now magically we've got this big warning that, you know, ISIS is coming.
Security warning right here.
Yeah, let them come. Let them come. Anybody comes and points a gun at you, return the favor. Because it's all up to us now. Our government's not with us anymore.
Those at Happening Net News and YouTube do not support the claims of this man and do not tell you to do such things, even no matter how based it would be if you did it.
Making it flagrantly, obviously, and completely clear. Now, if a massive earthquake happens to come and crumble New York City Monday, which could happen because I still believe that the World Trade Center, one World Trade Center, is simply a bomb, because why wouldn't they have that building rigged? They rigged the first three.
God.
You know what I'm saying?
Fuck yeah.
It all makes sense. It sounds crazy.
Fuck all in New York.
But it's all. This
Y'all
is the world we
deserve
live in,
it.
right?
Oh man, this dude's on a different list than we're on, I think.
Holy shit.
Bro, that escalated fast.
He went from based boomer to Uncle Ted real fast.
no evidence. He's the boomer for sure.
I mean, sure, like, you know, the ground zero is probably like got some old ancient ritual shit underneath it, but wasn't expecting
My
it to bomb.
Telegram groups have been saying that New York's going to blow up, prepare, and buy toilet paper now. I don't know. I've heard boomers say like, "Oh, the Muslims everywhere throughout the country are the bad guys, and they're planning everything, and the cartel's partnering with them, and something's going to happen in the next 3 months." 3 months ago. So I'm like, I don't know, man. Nothing ever happens, but there's a lot of energy going towards this specific thing.
Right now, this is absolutely insane to me. And let me just remind you of something from not too long ago that you might have forgotten about.
There's a show on CERN.
Yeah, this is fucked up. Watch this shit. This is fucking crazy. This should show you that these people are crazier than any goddamn shit I could ever fucking talk about.
For the record, I fully believe if I walked into CERN, I would see these fuckers dancing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I totally believe this is what goes on.
I need no evidence.
Seeing like they got like the 5 elements of man split apart. Fuck them. Fuck them and their stupid goddamn Terrence Malick copy bullshit.
Asleep, dumbed down, and don't realize what's going on. They can say the truth right in front of your face, and you won't even hear it, for the most part.
Earthquake in 140 years, John.
Look at all of that. And it's
Holy crap. This is a YouTube video. That's a YouTube stream watching other YouTube streams and BitChute streams. And this is a BitChute stream. A YouTube stream watching a BitChute stream watching a BitChute stream.
not over yet because we've got
By the
Get
way,
it all
that,
in one here, man.
the trailer that we just watched, that was a 2015 short documentary, just so everybody knows.
earthquake coming up on Monday. As Deborah Ross was telling us,
I get the point, dude.
I can't. I'm so. I can't. The information.
He can't even. All right. So there's the. He can't even. All right. I'm at.
Yeah, I think he's got all his points out.
This is all. Diddy's just a cover up for all this shit, huh? Or is all this a cover up for Diddy?
I mean,
Which-
it's gotta be. It's gotta be pretty fucking bad
That's where I'm
either
at now.
way. If they're gonna use a fucking like that story, if they're gonna let out that the hip hop industry was basically all created by a gay Israeli mafia, and that's the cover story for what is actually going on.
Breaking news.
Holy shit, man.
Someone's on Diddy's list, and now this is all happening. That's where I'm at with this.
Nah, man. Nuh-uh. Because the times just line up. It's end times, man.
It's always the end times. Isn't part of the end times us not knowing when the end times is, by the way?
No?
Oh.
I think a big part of it is everyone trying to predict it.
Or is that the return of the Messiah?
The return
One
of
of
the Messiah's already come, man.
Oh, yeah, that's right. 'Cause it's all about the past. It's all bullshit. Just read Neoplatism.
Believe it. What's truly important to you, what truly matters. Because if they pull this off, if this actually happens, if they're so confident that they're literally telling us in videos, like they're literally telling us, we're living in some crazy times, which we are living in crazy times. Just this and this.
Yeah, and the New York going kaboom boom. Look out for that. All right.
Allegedly. Possibly.
Allegedly, yes. He's on the list, not us. He said it.
We're just reporting it.
Yeah, we're just yeah. So all these guys, they worship the moon, you say?
Which one? Which guys?
I don't know. Trying to segue to the cult of the eclipse video.
Well, you can just segue into that by being like, hey,
here it
so
is.
We're watching this now.
We happen to have a solar eclipse happening this week actually, which of course is defined as an event when the moon passes in front of the sun, blocking its light and causing a period of darkness from the perspective of Earth. Many cultures personified the sun and moon as celestial beings to describe this eclipse. Sometimes these stories involve dragons, for example in China, where the sun is said to have been devoured by one.
Oh, hey, it's the year of the dragon, isn't it?
Yes.
The year of
Grabbing a beer. Continue.
Well,
and people would play drums and make loud noises to frighten away the dragon to save the sun, which of course always works as the sunlight returns. The Vikings believed an eclipse occurred when the wolf skull, who pursues the sun goddess soul across the sky, finally catches up with her, If Skull succeeds in swallowing Soul and plunging the world into darkness, it heralds the start of Ragnarok, a battle between the gods and the end of the world.
Oh, that's right. Pause that real quick. I just wanted to make a quick mention of something. I didn't mention it before. I think I may have mentioned it last night when we were talking, or I may have mentioned it to somebody that I was showing that clip to earlier about it was the one about the ISIS shit. There being a possible attack or whatever on public events or public places of worship and shit. It in the news reports for that, they mentioned several times they used the word lone wolf, and I thought that was interesting. I always pick up that shit. Like, okay, what is it there? What are they talking about? What's this about? The lone wolf, and I completely forgot about that until that just mentioned it. The lone wolf in Norse mythology, with the wolf is what swallows the sun during an eclipse, and that's the beginning of Ragnarok, which is to them the end of the world. But in the more esoteric understanding of it, that's when Jormungandr gets punched back to the beginning of time. He's the giant snake. He's the Ouroboros. He's the cycle. He's the repeating cycle. He's therefore the nodes in astrology is all the same. They're all the same thing. So when they once again, that's another example of them using that symbolism, using those terminologies to explain exactly what it is they're doing. They use these words and these phrases very specifically and stuff like that. It's all of this is eclipse verbiage. Everything they're talking about is just like eclipse verbiage.
So what you're saying is there's going to be a false flag by a lone wolf person, and they're going to blame ISIS on it.
They're going to blame ISIS or a lone terrorist.
Domestic terrorist?
Domestic terrorist.
Domestic terrorist.
It could be a domestic terrorist. It could very well could. That's a really, really good guess. It could be a domestic terrorist. It could be someone that they blame, someone who is associated with that, or they say is. And it's going to be something that's going to initiate, like in Ragnarok, the initiation of the first signs of Ragnarok being the end of the world, the end of a civilization, the ending phases of a society, so it can be rebirthed again.
So this is our last stream, in other words.
First and last
party. I mean, when I hear these things, the first thing that comes to mind is like the Civil War talk, the division, everyone being pushed this story seemingly out of the blue for the past few months, even though these astrological things happen because that's what stars do and shit like that. But it's just like how do I explain it? The only thing that has really came out of all this stuff is just more domestic terrorism bills getting pushed on us. So, for those that have been hearing their trigger wards, put the gun down tomorrow and stay inside.
Good advice all around.
Yes. What the heck? I have break.
Oh my god.
Ad blocker, dude.
Oh,
fuck.
This was
for one, I'm on Brave right now. For two, do we find it odd at all that we got? Well, actually, I was going to say here's the Islamic relief thing, so we get to have our fucking sprinkling the seed. But then again, I was going to say now they're going to try to radicalize our viewers with this, but it does say help Palestine. So as far as the ads that we would have gotten, I guess that's a better one.
No comment.
Oh, right. Hold on. I think I got that somewhere.
Please.
Yeah. Wait, where's hold on. Yes. Palestine? I've never heard of Palestine. What are you talking about? We love YouTube. Next.
The Vikings believed that their actions.
This, just so you know, this may be copywritten stuff. I got my eye out for it though.
Son of a. Okay, well, we got past it.
No,
In
just
Hindu
keep it rolling. I'll just
tradition,
let you know.
eclipses were caused by shadowy demons, Rahu and Ketu, who were once part of a divine serpent. The Inca called the sun god Inti, and solar eclipses were understood to be a sign of his wrath and displeasure. So fasting and sacrifices were offered. Some Native American tribes attribute the eclipse to a mischievous squirrel. Others say the sun was caught in a trap. And in Africa, there are legends of the sun and moon getting into a quarrel. And the esoteric traditions of the earliest Aryan civilizations around Anatolia, such as the Hittites, and also major empires in Mesopotamia, such as the Sumerians and later Babylonians. The male and female attributes of the celestial bodies coming together were highlighted by rituals involving a sacred marriage or sex magic, which was the foundation of an occult tradition which has been carried out by secret societies until today. Many people have heard of the 33rd degrees of Freemasonry, which some have claimed arises from the number of vertebrae in the human body. I disagree with this assessment because while it does involve the generative principle or force derived from the union of male and female polarity that can have a profound spiritual effect when directed up the spine, not all people have the same number of vertebrae, so the reference is not necessarily material or physical. The esoteric reason, which is revealed at the highest levels of initiation, has to do with the lunar and solar calendar aligning every 33 years. A solar year is 365 days, and a lunar year is 354 days long. After every 33 years, they align, which is significant to cultures which placed a lot of emphasis on astrology, such as the Babylonians, whose religious practices are encoded in the text of Abrahamic faiths. The reason for this can be traced back roughly 2,600 years ago to the Israelite captivity, which lasted for about 50 years. This came to an end when Babylon was conquered by what became the Persian Empire, and King Cyrus the Great allowed them to return to Jerusalem in 538 BC. Of course, some did return to the Levant, others stayed, and still others traveled to places like Turkey, Greece, and Egypt, having been exposed to the esoteric mystery school practices of the Chaldean Magi, or possibly having Aryan Magi joining their ranks. The alchemical knowledge based on the 7 planetary gods were dispersed through much of the world. In Alexandria, Egypt, this was expressed as Hermeticism. In Greece, this was infused into the mystery cults of Dionysus, among others, and emerged in the rites of the philosophers, Pythagoreans, and Neoplatonists. In esoteric Christianity, it is known as Gnosticism. In parts of Europe, it was disguised as alchemy, where the 7 planets were symbolic of stages or grades of initiation, with Saturn regarded as lead, which is then converted to solar or spiritual gold. In Islam, these practices emerge in certain Sufi sects, and in Jewish mysticism, it is known as Kabbalah. One needs only to look at the flag of modern Israel to see the symbolism expressed as the Star of David, which is also known as the Seal of Solomon, who was said to have been a magician. This ancient pre-Judaic alchemical symbol does not appear anywhere in the Orthodox Jewish faith, but has its esoteric roots with the Aryan Magi, or magicians, where the joining of 2 pyramids represent unification of male and female polarities, a central theme in creation and manifestation, which astronomically or astrologically is expressed by the sun and moon, which brings us back full circle to the eclipse.
God damn it. And the fucking ads.
In the ancient Hittite capital of Hattusha, there's some dramatic rock reliefs depicting cosmic narratives inscribed in the rock, which are illuminated annually by the shadows created by the sun at various points in the year. These reference periods when the royal lineage is engaged in sexual rites for purposes of a renewal of the land and other esoteric practices regarded as magic. The Hittites are regarded as the earliest offshoot of the Proto-Indo-Europeans, or Aryans, as can be recognized by their conical headdress, which can also be seen in other cultures, such as the Scythians, Phoenicians, Tarim Basin Aryans, the Magi, Egyptians, and Easter celebrations, which of course have to do with the resurrection of Christ, but in pre-Christian times is mirrored in the yearly resurrection of spring.
People walk around like
an
that.
annual
these days?
cycle of birth,
Yeah.
death, and
Seems pretty
rebirth,
ballsy.
also symbolically reflected in the swastika since antiquity, which was eventually replaced by the cross. Of course, the conical hat is also made notorious by the KKK, which incidentally, K is the 11th letter of the alphabet, where K plus K plus K equals 33, which I touched on earlier in reference to Freemasonry, which has been shown to have been infiltrated around the time leading up to the French Revolution by a secret society known as the Illuminati, founded by Adam Weishaupt, who many people have heard of. What most people are unaware of, however, is that the other founders were Amschel Rothschild and Jacob Frank, a self-professed successor to Sabbatai Zevi, a Kabbalist that declared himself Messiah in the year 1666. His following include half of the world's Jewish population at the time, before he was excommunicated out of mainstream Judaism, subsequently converting into Islam, along with many of his followers who have continued his teachings in secret, which proclaim that redemption is available through acts of sin. Jacob Frank claimed to be the reincarnation of Sabbatai Zevi, and after also claiming to be the Messiah, he converted into Catholicism with tens of thousands of his followers, who carried on the tradition of subversion of religion and governments while practicing occult rituals in secret, which, from a modern perspective, can be considered satanic. Bringing me to some hidden camera footage I'd like to show from a Masonic lodge in Turkey during a ritual attended by members of the 33rd degree, who are also wearing similar attire. The following was aired on Turkish national television. In other recordings which were published shortly after these shocking videos, Masonry in Turkey has been completely exposed. In these videos, a satanic worship ritual is being performed where only 33rd degree Masons can join in. The senior master who managed the ritual was drinking the blood of a goat, which was sacrificed for Satan on the middle of the lodge floor, and he was finalizing the satanic worship ritual by saying some prayers in the language of Hebrew. Even though the ritual included Hebrew, which in its ancient form is identical to Phoenician, the scene is not what one expects to see in a typical Jewish household or synagogue, and that's because it predates Judaism. Many ancient ritualistic practices survived the fall of Babylon and were cloaked into various esoteric aspects of modern religions and higher degrees of secret societies, where adepts carry out a legacy of mystery school religions, which allegedly stem all the way from the Pleistocene, when Atlantis was allegedly said to have existed. Of course, there was no such thing as the term Jews during the Ice Age. According to the Bible, they originated as descendants of Jacob, a patriarch that was later renamed Israel, and whose offspring then formed the 12 tribes, which is a coded reference to the 12 zodiac signs.
Ah! Aha! Ah! Ah! See, it took a while, but we got there. We connected it all.
It's all connected, man. I'm trying to fucking tell you.
So we can continue with that, but there's the 12 houses, there's the 12 zodiac signs, and as we teased before, we're going to do a reading of Jimmy's natal chart.
And yours.
No, we already did that. You're the best dummy for this one. So should we continue with the video? Or do we want to segue into that?
I think let's see, what are you halfway through? I know I think he does an interview with Alex Jones, and
we got things about the eclipse here.
I mean, I'm sure he gets back to it at some point.
Okay. Oh wow! We'll just.
Oh hell yeah!
We'll do another
significant number in the Chaldean and Babylonian mystery school religions of the Magi, who subscribed to a god of time, which was represented as a cube with 12 edges. In other words, the universe or space-time was postulated as being a cube.
All right, well, he's gone. Is this all making sense to you? We've covered a lot of stuff, and there's been a lot about a lot of stuff. And I'm not sure how much we talked about the eclipse today, but this is a lot. Do you get it? I mean, I get it. It all makes sense to me, but do you get it?
I mean, a lot goes over my head in general. No, I didn't really get it. I don't get it all. Listen, I wasn't studying astrology.
When I
got to talk behind people's backs.
I'm not. You always have you don't do that when I'm gone. Okay. When we started, I still had WrestleMania in the background, but I mean, I'm with it now. I get it.
And just acknowledging someone in the chat. Hold on, where was it? Ego layer.
Mhm.
Do the chart before we fall asleep. We're getting to there. We've been going for 2 hours, so we probably got another half an hour or so, and then we're gonna.
Yeah. Well, we got a few minutes of this. We'll get right into that, and that'll be the next thing we do in the next 5 to 10, depending on how long his smoke break is.
It comes down to us as Kronos, the god of time in Greek mythology, and Saturn in Roman. While modern Hebrew is constructed of a new script and includes borrowed words from Arabic, Aramaic, Latin, and other European languages, the original Old Block Hebrew is virtually indistinguishable from Phoenician, a seafaring civilization that mystery school religions claim inherited their linguistic and esoteric rituals from their Atlantean forefathers. While the Phoenician alphabet is originally derived from Egyptian hieroglyphics and not from cuneiform, the numerical values that are present in sacred geometry, astrology, and Kabbalah numerology share the same origins, which were introduced to the southern Levant by Aryan tribes from northern Iran and Turkey that started the Chalcolithic or Copper Age and were the blue-eyed, fair-skinned nobility and priest class of the Sumerian, Babylonian, and Phoenicians, from where Judaism and other Abrahamic faiths derived their occult mysticism.
There's a numerical system, okay? Each letter's a number. Like the Hebrew A, Aleph, it's 1. B, Bet, it's 2.
Mandatory commentary so we don't get flagged.
You understand? But look at this. The numbers are interrelated. Like take the Hebrew word for father. Av, Aleph, Bet. 1, 2 equals 3. All right? Hebrew word for mother, Aim, Aleph, Mem. 1, 40 equals 41. Sum of 3 and 41, 44. All right? Now, Hebrew word for child. All right? Mother, father, child. Yelad.
Oh, wait. Damn it.
What's going on here?
I don't know. You got to save a line or some shit.
That's 10.
Are you sure you're on Brave?
And 4.
I swear I'm on Brave. The only thing I got in this computer is Brave.
All right. Okay.
They've gotten better. I haven't updated Brave. I think that's it. That is it, isn't it?
Maybe.
But hey, think about it. Leo, lying, it all makes sense. Schizo talk, mandatory commentary. Back to the show.
44.
Is this the movie Pi? Anyone know? I never saw
Yeah,
that.
I think so. I think it is.
Okay.
Some say that it's a code sent to us from God. That's kind of interesting. Yeah, that's just kid stuff. Check this out, okay? The word for the Garden of Eden, Kedem. Numerical translation, 144. And the value of tree of knowledge, all right, in the garden, right? Eitz HaChaim, 233. 144, 233. And you can take those numbers. Like the Fibonacci sequence? Fibonacci is an Italian mathematician.
Anton? Never mind. I'm just trying. Never mind.
Century. If you divide 144 into 233, the result approaches theta. Theta? Theta. Greek symbol. Golden ratio, golden spiral.
Wow. Yeah, so if you think we're schizo, the Jews did it first, so go take it up with them. So, astrology.
You didn't want to see his interview with Alex Jones? That's all right.
I mean, I think we're streaming it. We're on YouTube, so I mean, I think that's like a hard no. I mean, your call. Should we do that, or is that safe? Is Habb? What do you say?
Wait, what?
Would you like?
Did y'all ask me something?
There's a clip with Sefer and Alex Jones yapping. Should we just skip it and just get to the?
Well, I was curious.
Reading my chart. You were curious?
I was curious about that.
How much we got left in the video?
We got, if we get to the Alex Jones part, it starts at 17 and it goes.
All right, skip to the Alex. Just skip to the Alex Jones part.
All
right. A little before it.
Yeah.
What could go wrong?
By the religious leaders long ago and forced to go underground.
We're already getting loaded up with speakers, all sorts of interesting people from different fields. We also got some folks on Skype. Chase Geyser's Han showing this. Tell us what's coming up, and then give me your view on this.
Yeah, so we've got a lot of people that have agreed to pop in. This is the first time that we've done a space not as spontaneously as we usually do. Usually we decide to do a space maybe 30 minutes before the show, and then we just launch one. So
hurry up.
We're not sure. It's going to be 1 a.m., I believe. If you're still with us, I know you've been a speaker for a long time. Go ahead and unmute yourself and say what you have to say. If you're not there, then we'll move on. Give you a second.
There we go.
There you go.
Great, thanks. How you guys doing? I just want to say hello to Alex and acknowledge what impact
I didn't know he actually interviewed him.
Elected
or called.
Yeah, I mean, it's a call-in show, pretty much,
Which, if you guys would like to do a call-in show, we'll link a Discord somewhere in the comments or some shit. Wait, we're not doing this. It's the end of the world tomorrow. Never mind. Scratch that.
We're all dead to mind.
We're busy.
Noticeably better platform with Alex on it, and I just wanted to touch on Jews, if I could. As an anthropologist, this Shmuley's kind of going viral. And I wanted to remind people there's different kinds of Jews. There's atheists, there's religious Jews, there's different kinds of religious Jews. There are some sects that have been excommunicated. So it's not, we shouldn't lump them all together. There are some that you can politically align with and some that are, my point is they're not a homogenous, monolithic demographic. Thank you, Alex.
Well, thank you, sir. Will you give us your view as an anthropologist on human obsession with eclipses, solar and lunar, and why you think this is being hyped?
Well, there's an occult or esoteric aspect to religions, a Kabbalistic aspect that predates Judaism and all the Abrahamic faiths. And this goes into basically periods of the year where they do rituals. And there's a lot of truth to that. So the idea is that there's certain energies that are available. And not to get too, X-rated, but there, a lot of the rumors are true. There are sexual things that happen. There are, blood things and what have you. So it's kind of dark, but like I said, I don't want to make any kind of blanket generalizations on any one group. So it's kind of a sect that's within all the other religions. So it's not just within.
That's very wise what you said, because the Republicans just put out a big list.
Because it covered my ass, and I don't want to get canceled again because I owe like $11 billion or something.
Hey, speaking of, sorry, did you guys see the trailer to the smear documentary on HBO with Jones?
They just made a
Uh-huh.
documentary on him.
Oh yeah, it's called The Truth versus Alex Jones. It's a very big budgeted documentary on him.
I wonder who funded it.
But most of it, what is anti-Semitic, is to say that Jews all secretly work together and agree with each other. That is ridiculous. And to claim any human group does that is a lie. And I'm not here as an apologist for Jews, but the idea that evil inherently comes from Jews is a load of shit. But also then sitting back and saying you can't criticize carpet bombing civilians, that is BS too. Or defending Hamas. People are like, oh, you don't like what Israel's doing, now you like Hamas. No, I don't. So it's like people have to do research. They have to be nuanced here. It's very frustrating. And if they get us in these camps, they can control us.
Agreed. And, there's certainly a sect that wants to escalate this whole situation. And most of us, are sympathetic with the Jews that were taken hostage, sympathetic with these pictures of children starving. But there's a sect that wants to have this, like you were touching on earlier with the temple, and wants a global escalation, wants to bring it to Europe and to America. And really, they're trying to use Revelation as a playbook. And they want to bring about, this catastrophe so they can then usher in the world the way they want it.
No, I agree. But
the
what's scary is that then the Shiites, particularly, they have their own version and they're just as crazy.
Yeah, exactly. I wrote a book called 1666, and it's about a sect that converted into Islam, converted into Catholicism, the Donme, and then Jacob Frank. So they've infiltrated every group. So it's really a hidden hand, and it's counterproductive to just name a group because they really infiltrated everything. They're
By the way, I agree, and I would use that.
Okay, so the gist is it's not, even though they're everywhere and that they're doing things and they're involved with everything and they call themselves that, even though we like to call themselves other things, even though they call themselves that, it's not them, even though when they admit it's them. So knock it off, and that's pretty much what he's saying, right?
Basically.
I mean, Seberti and Frankus, right? Is that what the whole idea is? What Sepper's talking about?
Man, they're so cucked.
That is Frank Herbert trying as a decoder with his book Dune. The later books are not that good because I've read them all, but the first one's really good. I already studied history, and I went, wait, these are all metaphors for history. The Bene Gesserit are in every group, every religious group, but they're the cult controlling it.
Even though that when they moved there and they formed the Jesuits, a lot of the ones that converted were conversos from Spain. But it's just still the Jesuits. So they forget the origin of the people who joined it.
Exactly. So with Jews, since they're such a powerful demographic, it's wise to align with the ones that are, politically on our side, let's say, rather than to vilify or demonize the whole group. And, other than that, I just wanted to, again, thank you. I don't want to hog up too much time here, but you're doing a great job, Alex, and we support you. So thank you so much.
I can't believe how smart these people
are. All right, I get to walking around the lake.
Yeah, I mean, and
then he's walking around the lake.
Yep. Yeah. He likes to film himself.
Yeah, it's any much longer than that, I'll be going fully mask off. I don't know how much longer.
All right.
Breaking the fourth wall.
Habb, what is this called again? You're reading my chart?
Oh, yeah, natal chart.
Yeah,
natal chart.
Dox your soul, bro.
So time to fully dox myself. Okay, so you need birth date, place of birth, meaning the town.
Yeah. So your birth place, your birth time, and of course your birth date.
Okay. You ready for it?
Sure. Sure. Let's see. Let's hold up. All
right. Oh, should I pull up that thing that you sent me too, just so I know what you're talking about? Do I have to have that?
Did you make the chart, or is you just going off the info?
I don't know. Do you have to make the chart, Habb?
I mean, I don't have to personally. You can do it. There's nothing.
Well, I don't know where to start, but okay.
Go to astroseek.com.
Okay, yeah, I got the link you gave me.
Okay, and then go to where it's natal charts, and type in your information.
And then what, I have to give that to you, or is this just for my own self?
You can share it with the class. You can have it shared up
Okay.
here if you want. Stream or screen share it if you
Okay,
want,
okay.
and you can download it too. It gives you the option to download it.
Okay, hang tight, hang tight.
I've gotten so fucking good at this.
Here we go. You're not, dude. You're not doing anything. That's only when people talk. You think I'm an idiot?
You mean you can do no? How? How can you do that on this?
That's whatever.
You can do that on this?
Quit fucking with me, dog.
I've been doing it manual this whole. I swear, man, you use like a different browser when you produce the show or something because you guys have a whole different. You like I can do this, but you can do it on the other side with yours, and I like. Am I supposed to update this too? What the hell's going on here?
All right, we're almost there.
All right, dox your magic.
Okay, here we go. I'll share my screen. Hold on. Wait. Okay, here we go. Full screen that shit. Okay.
Oh,
he sounds excited.
you've got a nice.
I have a good soul. Thank God. Can you see it all right?
Yeah. No, I can see it. That's really good. That's really cool.
Then why is it
okay.
working for him?
Michael, no commenting. We don't need your comments. All right. Wait, hold on a minute. Let me put my face up on the screen too here. Whoa. There we go. All right. So what do you see, Habb?
So you got a. It's funny. You got a very balanced.
Balanced? I'm balanced. I'll let you finish.
I'm surprising. Sorry. That's caught me a little off guard.
What balance exactly?
Well, it would be your.
If he just stops drinking, just everything works out all of a sudden.
I cracked my first beer 30 minutes ago.
There it is.
Well, you've got a lot of placements that are in all different signs. You don't really have a huge concentration of, one or the other. But a lot of times when someone has when someone has a lot of different energies in their chart, if someone has like a lot of fire and a lot of water and a lot of earth and air, it's like all over the place. That doesn't necessarily mean that someone's like, real super Zen master or anything. That means that someone ping pongs their energy. If you see someone whose chart has their aspects, half of them are on one side of the chart and then the other half are on the other, that's going to be pretty indicative of someone whose energy ping pongs back and forth, may suffer from mood swings, stuff like that. When you see things that are above the horizon, so if you look at the dark line across the horizontally, going from left to right, that's your ascendant and descendant line. The ascendant is your rising sign, where the horizon, where the sun would have been rising on the day you were born. So your sun is above the horizon, so that means you were born during the daytime. The descendant is where the sun was setting, so you were born closer to sunset than you were the morning. And then you've got your kind of main aspects, a lot of them over in one section, but if you want to kind of break down what all of this stuff means, you're a Gemini ascendant. And a lot of times Gemini, your ascendant sign, which is the one on the left where the sun would have been rising on the day you were born, a lot of people will take their readings to be more indicative of their rising sign rather than their sun sign. So if someone doesn't resonate a lot with their sun sign, or they only resonated in a certain sense, then that's because that's about an aspect. It's how you illuminate in the world. It's how you shine a light on not just yourself but on other people. And when you have where other people can see you the best too.
What's his rising?
His rising is Gemini.
Gemini? So he's a Capricorn with a Gemini. So that makes sense because he's like an emo Gemini.
Kind of.
Yeah.
But a Gemini ascendant is someone who's gonna have is gonna have a lot of questions about the world though.
Like, he's a Capricorn. Where's his darkness and evil thing? Oh, he's a cheery Irish drunk, but he's gloomy. It all makes sense now. Okay.
I am not really a drunk anymore. All
Not
right.
anymore. Right. Sorry.
Listen, man, you met me in 2020. That was a rough time, all right? I was
Yeah.
drinking bottles of cheap scotch every
Don't
week.
admit it. Don't admit it. You're still in the network, optics, PR, and all that. Continue. Did you mute yourself, Ab?
Well, I wasn't sure if y'all were
continue.
going off. I wasn't sure if y'all were going off or not.
No, that was the end of it going off. So go ahead with the
Well, so your Gemini ascendant is whatever your ascendant sign is kind of going to be, it's going to tell you where things are happening in your life, because your ascendant sign is going to determine where your houses are, where the difference, basically, like if you're going to look at your chart as like a pie or something, there's the different slices of each pie. Those are the houses, and each house is a area of life. The ones under the horizon, meaning 1 through 6, are all houses that deal with yourself, and they all deal with things that deal internally. So your first house is represented by yourself. It's generally ruled by Aries, or it's traditionally ruled by Aries because it's the first sign. The first house deals with, in medical or physical astrology, it deals with the face, the top of the head, the brain. It has to do with how you see the world, how like Aries is the ram. It's seen as the infant of the zodiac, so it doesn't really perceive things outside of itself. It doesn't perceive itself really. It only perceives things outside of itself. It only sees what it wants. It only knows what it wants, and it really knows how to. It may not know how to get it, but it's going to go about doing so. So those themes in the first house, when you have stuff that's going on in the first house, those themes can kind of take precedence there. It's also about your identity and how you identify yourself, and kind of the backwards, like the sort of the reason for why you do things. Having a Gemini ascendant means a lot of times you have a lot of questions about the universe. You have a lot of questions about your place in the world, and you have a lot of questions revolving around your identity, and you're searching for some sort of truth revolving around those things. And maybe a lot of the things that you do are in search of some truth. Sort of that the Gemini sign can be seen as like an ever a perpetual student in a lot of ways, but in a good way. None of these things are bad or good in astrology. The most interesting, though, thing, if you want to jump right into what one's darkest aspects are, the ones that get highlighted by the eclipses, it would be that aspect that's in your first house right there, your Chiron. Chiron is, some people say it's a dwarf planet, some people say it's an asteroid, but in astrology, it's the wounded healer, and it's where we carry our pain in this lifetime, our shame, our chronic, uncurable wound that every single one of us carries is found there in that sign. So whatever that means for you, I know a few people who have wound in Chiron, and it appears in different, it'll appear in a different area of life. Like, for instance, if somebody has their Chiron, meaning a wound in the themes, a chronic wound and a sense of humiliation or even guilt in the areas of Gemini. Gemini represents communication. Gemini represents the physical body, sending messages from the brain to the rest of the body. Someone with that position may have poor hand-eye coordination. Someone with that position may not be very good at sports. They may not find them as the most athletic individual. There could be something revolving, a chronic wound revolving around the appearance or the lack of proficiency in one's physical appearance. Lack of proficiency, and by that I mean maybe athletic proficiency, or maybe strength, a sense of perception of the self is skewed with the themes of Gemini. So if you want to read what that might mean for you and how that might intuit, you look to where those aspects are making other connections, where those aspects are making other where they're mirroring another planet, or where they're trining, or where they're challenging another aspect. So if you want to move on to your sun sign, we talked about that yesterday, where your sun sign, just from knowing you as Capricorn, that means a whole lot of your sense of purpose and your sense of illumination to the rest of the world is based on your ability to work. It's based on your work, it is based on your creative output, but it's also based on the goals you set for yourself, the goals you set for creative endeavors, creative projects.
The ones that I never finished, that is?
It can be. But a big part of it is that as soon as you hit a goal, you want to finish another one. You want to start another one. You don't want to stop. You don't want to stop and celebrate. You want to move on to the next one. And there's a sense of anxiety, or there's a sense of urgency around not having a project or having something that's pushing yourself forward in that way. Capricorn's represented by the mountain goat. Mountain goats at their most, I don't know, you want to say like the most asinine kind of way, they just want to climb a mountain for the fuck of it.
There's a sea goat.
Yeah. One that they just...
Sea goat. It's like a goat with like a horseshoe or something like that.
Yeah, so it's like it wants to just climb mountains, abstractly, just for the fuck of it. If you want, but one that can climb those goals and climb those mountains with a sense of purpose and can lead others up to new heights, can lead others to new truths, can lead others to that sense of it can be very inspirational for other people. How your sun sign is and how you resonate with your sun sign is how you end up being the inspiration for others around you.
That's where my inspiration comes. Well, the inspiration that I give out to the world, that's right there.
Mm-hmm. So if you were to look at that, it also appears in your 8th house. The 8th house deals with the occult. The 8th house deals with themes of sex, death, rebirth, transformation, personal transformation. So there's a sense of illumination that you give to not just yourself. The sun not only illuminates itself, it illuminates everyone else around it, so everyone else can be seen too. That's the most positive aspect of a sun, or a king, if you want to look at the sun like that. Those themes of inspiration, those themes of climbing mountaintops, those themes of setting goals, will center around the areas of life that have to do with the 8th house, which are rather dark themes. Your Mercury is very close to your sun. You communicate very well with these themes. Look at you with your YouTube channel. Truther mixtapes, Truther, themed every week. You have a ability to shine a light on these themes, and you do that through a very creative endeavor. It may not be something that you do all the time. It may not be something that you do. It may be something that you're hindered by. I would say that Chiron making a challenging opposition to your sun is a good indicator of where that lies, what that may mean for you. What that may mean for you is, you know, what is the wound around communication? Does one feel like they're not good enough? Does one feel like their voice isn't worth being heard? It really depends on what that might resonate for you. There's a lot of places that I read from that when I was learning this about my own chart and learning these things about myself, it really, really just hammered home, more so than what someone else may be telling to me, more of what I could read and then intuit myself.
It does make sense because he is very easy to bully.
But that's just because he's short.
Fuck off.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a normal sized man.
Yeah, for what country?
Guys, assholes.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm connecting with a good amount of it. I think I'm gonna have to re-listen to what you've already said. So, I mean, yeah, sure, I sucked at sports, obviously.
Tell Misha I say hi, by the way. I can hear her panting.
But it's more, oh, she's being a baby. But it's more of where that chronic wound continues. And one thing that's really interesting is that you and Michael both share y'all's Lilith is in the same spot.
I like that louder now.
Where's this Lilith?
So in the third house right there in Leo, you see the red? You see that red down? Yeah, right there. That's the third house, and yours is in Leo, and your Black Moon Lilith is in that third house of Leo. Those two, Chiron and Lilith, are the most detrimental, darkest shadow aspects. I think in Vedic astrology, they're connected to the Ketu and Rahu that Sepper was talking about, the shadow aspects of the self that then becomes illuminated when these things are happening. So with Black Moon Lilith, that's what you rebel against. Lilith in mythology, Michael, I'm sure you've heard of the, you know, in Kabbalah, Lilith, who was the first woman for Adam, she refused. Yes, she refused to submit to him. So the themes of rebellion.
To the virgins, thanks for nothing.
Yes. The themes of rebellion follow Lilith wherever she goes. So you and Michael both have this rebellion in the sign of Leo, which is a whole that's your kingly energy. That's your ability to be that illuminative force, to be it's like Leo's like the classic narcissist sign, but a narcissist isn't. Yeah. So
no wonder I couldn't pay attention to any of this shit. It wasn't about me.
but that's part of it, is that Lilith in that sign doesn't necessarily, it can manifest itself as really hating people who are tyrannical, really hating people who are narcissistic. You may be able to pick up on narcissists very easily and be able to tell when they're bullshitting you, and then get frustrated at other people who aren't able to see through that bullshit. Like, why are you looking? And then for you,
those guys.
For you, Jimmy, that's specifically going to appear in the area of the third house. The third house is actually the house ruled traditionally by Gemini. So when you have those two things going on there, that's kind of like those two, your Chiron and your Lilith are connected. So it's a level of communication, it's a level of travel. The third house has to do with travel. Maybe there's a specific type of that energy of somebody who is that tyrannical asshole narcissist. You see them.
Hey, that's me.
You see them in a traveling situation. You see them short distance traveling somewhere within you. This could be someone very personal to you. Third house is a lot of times your like immediate surroundings, not necessarily like your best friends. It could be like colleagues and shit. It could be people who you meet on a day-to-day basis, on a short-term travel kind of way. It's just a lot of different. It can be a lot of different things depending on what it really means for you.
Where's your Chiron and Lilith, by the way?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, it's my Chiron is conjoined with Venus in the 5th house of Virgo.
So that's why you're a virgin?
Shut up.
Where's your Lilith?
Aries, 12th house.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So when you have basically when you've got Chiron in Gemini, you basically like, okay, hang on one second.
Yeah, slow down, refresh, simplify it. You've confused your person in chat.
The Chiron.
No, hang on, my stream's fucking up.
The Chiron is the KR over here, right?
Yes, the one in your first house. Now, most
figured.
people, a lot of times, and I've done this for a few people before too, where you go into the darker aspects, because a lot of people want to be like, well, what's my sun? What's my purpose? What's my this and that? How am I going to get rich? How am I going to,
Now we're talking.
What's my superpower? That kind of shit. Those things are, I mean, yeah, that's fine. That's interesting. I like the darker aspects. I like looking at.
Well, if you go dark, you figure out where the blockages are, and then you address that, because it's the hard part. Because you always ignore the hard part, so acknowledge the hard part, and then everything else is easy.
Yeah, I think
getting
it. Go on, sorry.
It might be worth doing a one-time, few-hour deep dive, house to house to house, how to read a chart, and then doing an example of it with people.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe you have someone in chat volunteer, like I don't know, someone who's here or someone who left.
That'd work. But with Jimmy, I'm trying to kind of look at it from the perspective of someone we know.
Yeah.
Of someone that we understand. But if you were to do this for somebody who's like, I don't know, some chick who's like really into figuring out what her superpower is, you would go through the sun sign, like I just said, with your Capricorn. That's where you shine the most. Your moon sign, that's what you're intuiting. That's your emotive side. That's your passive side. That's in your 4th house. So that would be very, very positive for you. That would be very.
I would have broken up with her before we got to this
point. Oh yeah, absolutely. Moon.
Oh, great.
In,
no wonder why I can't hold a relationship anymore. All right.
It is.
Yeah, moon in Virgo is a really in the 4th house is a really fun spot. But for you, if you were to look at like, oh, look at my expansion, look at where my career is going to be.
Down the toilet?
10th house Aquarius, you're looking at bringing a lot of themes of humanitarianism to the forefront. That's what a lot of Aquarian energy is. When you have your Fortune and Venus right there combined on your midheaven, conjunct on your midheaven.
Where is that? Is that 4 and 5 you're talking about?
No. So when you're looking at when you're talking about career,
yeah,
you look to the 10th house up there.
Oh, okay.
That's where your career is going to be. Those two aspects right there, the X, your Fortune, and the green one, Venus, are all conjoined in Aquarius. Aquarius is the sign of the humanitarian, and it's ruling your 10th house, which has to do with your career and your legacy, more specifically your legacy on what you're on what you want to leave behind, what legacy you want to leave people, what legacy you want to leave for your name, your career, whatever that may be. It's just most people just kind of connect it to career. Yeah. Someone in Aquarius is going to find theirs in humanitarian themes, something where you're a populist kind of thing. You're bringing a lot of, you're shaking the ground for people. You could find a career where you're rocking people's boat, kind of. You could find a career where you leave an impact, you leave a lasting impact on the foundations that you might shake up. If there's ever a desire to do something like that, that's your intuition kind of telling you to go in that direction. If you ever have something where you're like, well, I want to be someone who brings that truth to the surface. I want to make humanity on a global scale kind of question things a little bit more. That might be something that's appearing for you because you have those aspects squaring one another. You have those aspects all kind of combining together. Your darker aspects, again, it's a little overwhelming. It is a little overwhelming to get into it in there because there's anybody's because there's so much stuff going on, and to hone in on one thing specifically, it's really like, well, what do you want to know?
Yeah, I think when it comes to any of the darker stuff, I'll probably have to do that a non-streaming one sometime when we're just hanging out.
We don't know if we got enough time for that.
But you see these various points and various, strengths in people's charts that it's hard to kind of get a bead on if it's hard to get to tell unless you're very, very intuitive with somebody, or you're with someone who's on. Another one that I've discovered by doing this for people is honesty. A lot of people are not very honest with themselves. If you tell them something that does resonate, they're just going to tell you no. They're just going to tell you, no, that's nothing like me. And
does mine say the opposite of that?
No. There's plenty of people who will do the same thing, and it's just they don't even know. It's whether they may not even be aware that they're doing it. Scorpio is very, like, someone who has very, very strong Scorpio energy is someone who's going to have a lot of those almost unaware manipulative tendencies, and those things can appear in those themes can appear if it happens with another aspect. Like, for instance, if you have Mars in Scorpio or something, you yourself may not be a manipulative person, but you choose to hide your power. You choose to keep your power under the surface and show it when the time is right. That's a form of manipulation. You may not even know that you're doing it, but that person is doing it. If somebody is for you, for instance, if we want to go to your drive is in Sagittarius. So that's fire. That's a lot of optimism. And it's in the 6th house right there. So you see the arrows, Mars right there, the typical Mars symbol is in, so the red that so that's in the house of the 6th house, ruled over by Sagittarius.
Okay.
And when Mars appears in Sagittarius, Mars mixes with the themes of Jupiter, because Jupiter rules Sagittarius. Mixing with the themes of Jupiter is boastful energy, it's Zeus, it's highly optimistic, and at its most detrimental, it can be a drunk. Because it's having a very, very good time. It's having too good of a time. It can be too optimistic. When somebody has Sagittarius on their descendant, that can be their repeated pattern of falling into that in their relationships, where it becomes too good of a time. Then they're the only one having a good time. So
I said no dark parts tonight.
That's not the dark parts.
We're getting there.
No, we're not doing the darkness. No point. That'll be too long.
That'll be the Patreon.
But one thing in particular, if you want something good and you want something strong,
Yeah, give me something good and strong that we can.
I think you have something good and strong in your cabinet looking at the chart. But
I don't have any bottles of booze. All right, just cans.
you actually have, and Michael, you know about this shit. You can probably look at it and be like, oh, Jimmy has a pretty good. He's got a pretty strong propensity to be a healer. You got some healing energy going on there, Jimmy.
So how do I heal a person? All right, go on. Sorry.
You heal by first healing yourself.
Oh, God.
There's the problem. That's why I'm quiet the whole time.
So, and the reason why I'm looking at that is I'll at least come full circle with the eclipse stuff.
Where's this Chiron again?
Is in the first house of Gemini.
Is this going to be something that I was going to ask you at the end? How, like, what do I have to look out for as per the eclipse? Is this going to be the answer to that?
The eclipse, yes. So you see that like omega symbol at the top of the chart, the black one right there.
This?
Yeah. So that little omega symbol is your north node, and the one directly opposite it on the bottom on the south that looks like a upside down north node, or excuse me, an upside down omega symbol. That's your south node, and generally those are seen as the north node is where you're going, and the south node is where you're coming from. In the astrological aspect that it's connecting to is the dragon, the celestial dragon, the constellation. And when the north node moving forward is the dragon's head, that's where you're going towards. That's where your life is headed, or where you'll be maturing into these themes, whereas you'll be letting go of the themes in your south node. That's for better or worse, but for generally people see that as past life, future life. Your south node is what you had in your early childhood and what you had in your previous life, whereas the north node is what you're going to acquire more of in this life and then take on with you to the next one. Your south node is in Virgo, which can be seen as letting go of over analytical tendencies, OCD tendencies, letting go of obsessive, repeated obsessive thoughts, again, obsessive compulsive disorder, overly critical thoughts, self-critical thoughts. Yours is in the 5th house, so that deals with a lot of self-expression, criticism of self-expression, and instead moving into the mature themes of Pisces. The mature themes of Pisces that you have on your north node is healer energy. That is the classic sign of like Jesus. It's the fish caught between two worlds, and it is generally seen as someone who can move into that healing energy, because Pisces is represented by people who need healing, who need retreat, who need mental help, who need physical help, rehabilitation. All of those things can be something that you're moving towards in a positive way. You can move towards those things gradually in this, I've learned from my mistakes, here's how I can help other people that way. Here's how I can help myself by helping other people, or help other people by helping myself. Because Pisces is also another sign that's a big part of the collective. Other people, other, collective energy, healing the other, healing the suffering of others. Pisces is all water and emotion. So you can also connect that too if you wanted to say that you're maturing, if you're at a detriment or if you're operating at a low vibration, you could mature into a drunk. You could mature into someone who only feels the suffering and the pain of the world around them, and only feels that the world is an unfair, unjust, suffering, cruel place, and decides to drown in the sorrow with the rest of the world.
So you're saying my future could be that?
Your future could be, I'm going to heal everybody around me.
Or I'm going to be a drunk and be a doomer?
You could be a fucking doomer.
Yeah. You're
Well,
fucked.
Yeah. Well, no, it seems like I got two
You've
different ways
reached
I can
your-
take it.
You've reached your final form. Congratulations.
We're almost to that point. All right. Well, I mean, I'm definitely taking away some shit here. Most definitely. Hold on, let me switch back here. God damn it. There we go. All right. I'm definitely gonna be listening to that back to by myself there. And I guarantee when I do, I'm gonna want to do this again. How much am I gonna owe you?
Nothing. You know, I mean, nothing. I've done this for other people though, and it's usually after talking about it for a while and kind of.
This is your pickup line, isn't it?
Kind of, but the people who I've talked to it about a while. They generally have an understanding of these themes. They generally have an understanding of this stuff, and they at least kind of know their main signs. Jimmy, now I know yours. Gemini rising, Virgo moon, and Capricorn sun. That's a very interesting combo. You got Earth, and all this Earth energy, you know.
So in theory, you should be very grounded, and you're set to be very balanced. You're just hell bent on not.
Because you have these wounds in the.
I blame your
said, probably, but like I said, you would look to the fourth house. So your mom probably caused some sort of social anxiety.
Oh, God damn it, Habb.
Sorry.
No, my mother did the best she could.
So did mine, man. I understand.
Right, we can do our spin-off show Mother Issues on another night.
Love you, Mom.
Yeah, we'll have her on for another episode.
No, she will not be coming on my shows.
That's not what the DMs.
I protect my mother.
Well,
that was very inciting.
Semi-botched the first part of the show, but you guys get the message about the eclipse and the potential end of the world that may or may not happen. Yeah. The inside of Jimmy's cosmic soul and personal issues, which we knew a lot of it, but man, we knew a lot of it. But okay, we'll get over it, Jimmy.
Yeah, I'm completely. Oh, I'm fine. I don't have I gotta get another beer, but I'm fine.
Jimmy. Hold on, wait a sec.
What?
Jimmy. It's going to be okay.
Oh, thanks, man. Appreciate it.
It's going to be okay.
I know. We're good.
Jimmy,
we're good.
It's going to be okay.
We're good, man.
It's not your fault, Jimmy.
Oh, that's what it is. Thank you. That's what it is. Fuck.
Not your fault.
It's not your. Damn it! I can't do it again now. Fuck.
Okay. I mean,
man, that was what it was, wasn't it? It's
not your fault, man.
It's not your fault. It's not.
It does make sense to why I always have people coming in with their problems. It's like, but I always think they just need someone to talk at. But maybe I'm providing more than just to them.
You're the dumping spot.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
and that's what Pisces is. Pisces is the dumping water.
It's a good thing if you view it like that.
It is. And you have both of those aspects in retrograde too, so it'll take longer for those things to kind of incorporate or to heal. But it's okay that your mom thought you were dumb.
It's not your fault.
It's not your fault.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
We love you.
That's what we're here for. All right, so that's what we're here for helping Jimmy, and for you guys, we're here to give you the good news, the bad news, the schizo news, the accurate news, and everything else in between, especially when we take it from other people. But beside the point, what's the takeaway you want people to have for this show, Habb? Or
I can do natal readings. I can almost make you cry by telling you what your problems are.
I'm glad I didn't start having beer earlier than 45 minutes ago.
You still streaming?
Me? Yeah, I'm gonna jump on for like an hour or so after we're done here. So if any of you guys are in the chat now, I'll be on YouTube and D Live shortly after this ends. Just so you know.
On Jimmy the Lip, on both of them. Habb, tell everyone where they can find you, even though they're currently finding you.
They're currently finding me right now, but find me on YouTube and BitChute. I don't ever post on Odyssey, but I probably should start.
Nah, it's not going anywhere. And for me, you can follow. We got a new podcast going on now called Tinfoil Soil. We do full episodes on Rumble, and we do clips of each show on YouTube, and eventually we'll probably do that too. I think the ultimate goal is do full show there, and then maybe do an after show or a live talk part there. So if you want, that's kind of like Schizophrenia Academia season 1 with Habb, Tinfoil Soil season 2 with me, because people still want it, and we're all busy. So airs Fridays. Habb, he has docs. Another one will come sometime in the next 10 years, probably. And Jimmy, you guys can catch right now for those who didn't catch that. Anything else?
Ooh. Oh, wait. One last question. Are the glasses bullshit when you got to look at the eclipse or what?
Probably. They're making everyone do like paper arts and crafts just to go outside. It's what the hell is that all about?
Okay.
They're making you stare at your inner demons.
I mean, you're not supposed to stare at the sun, except for those sun gazers. You use sun gaze, don't you, Habb? He sun gazes.
All right. Well, it was a good show. So, success. The boys were back in town.
See you guys in a